Stories number 1. AITJ, my fiancé told me this is it. Take it or leave it. So I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house, my fiancé. Tom 37M and I 28F have been together 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns $10K a month and has $100K saved. I have millions invested and about $40K a month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said, if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I should. I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenup. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually, he gave me an ultimatum. Final offer. You buy the house. We each own 50%. I'll sign the prenup. Take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of assets I work to protect. Now, I'm wondering if I sabotaged my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. Relevant. Comments. Commentaire. 1. The first dumb thing you did was tell him the amount of money that you have. 'Cause even if y'all do stay together and eventually get married, he's going to be constantly thinking about that money and trying to find ways that he can get as much of it that he can. Y'all got to learn how to stop running your mouth so much. I understand that you kind of got to let your mate know a little bit, but he did not need to know exactly how much money you have. Men can be just as greedy as women. Let a woman find out that a man's got a bunch of money, she's going to do everything in her power to get as much of it as she can. It's going to consume her. Men can be the same way. I think you breaking up with him was probably the best thing to do, 'cause your marriage will be all about money. Reply. I agree with you. I normally don't talk about money or share this kind of information, but since we were engaged, I honestly thought it was only fair for both of us to understand where we stood financially. I realize now that it might have been a mistake, but at the time I truly believed I was doing the right thing for our relationship. Commenter 2. It was the right thing to do before getting married. Legally, when you get married, a lot of financial and legal relationships kick in. You have to lay your cards on the table before making this kind of commitment. Unfortunately, large amounts of money can make otherwise nice people crazy. I also came into money, and I'm lucky in that my husband is a reasonable and honorable person, as well as being the love of my life. No grasping or ultimatums. I'm sorry you had to go through that. OP, your fiancé has shown you who he is. The money revealed his greed. I'm so sorry. NTJ, protect yourself from a lifetime of him caring more about your money than you. Good luck, OP. Sincerely. Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle. On a teaching salary, I explained that I had a small inheritance which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time we were just starting to date, and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice, but nothing extravagant, and during our relationship we always split expenses 50-50 dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities since I was already paying them, and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things. about his father moving in. This isn't something he wants right away, but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances. Initially, when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together. But once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted. He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house, and since I had the means, I should buy the house myself, but it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he can sleep in the guest room tonight but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand. Update. Wow, this blew up. Thank you so much for all your comments and support. This morning I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to a bulletproof prenup stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed. Nothing more. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution only. I also suggested options like a guest house for his father or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping our separate accounts for personal money. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted. But another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here. Relevant comments. Commenter. 1. Change the lock of the house. While he's at the hotel, I'm serious. Like, you said he's untrustworthy. At this point, if you have a sick family member, you and your family, look after that person. Dragging someone you've been in a relationship for 6 months into this is very weird, inappropriate, inconsiderate, and enforcing of him. Reply. Thanks for the advice. I'm calling a locksmith to change all the locks just in case. We've been together for 2 years, but only 6 months living together. Commenter 2. Please don't ever move a man into your home again. I know you were engaged, but next time look for a guy who owns his own home and has equity. I posted a few comments about people who marry to climb the property ladder. This guy has plenty of cash, or so he says, and could easily own a home or a condo somewhere. But he doesn't. He saw your nice home and figure he could marry you and get you to sell what you have, trade up, and he would be co-owner. Because once you marry and buy a new house, that's marital property. Don't do this again, please. You don't need to date men in your financial bracket, but find one who did what you have done. Invest in a home for himself. The other issue is the age gap. He's 37 and doesn't have his own home? Red flag. His dad is living on his own now, but he wants him to move in? Dad is probably in his 60s and may be capable of living on his own for 20+ years. I have a friend who is 86, a cancer survivor, and living on her own just fine. Find a man who shares your values and who is no more than 4 to 5 years older. 30-32 is a good range. If he doesn't own a house or condo, he's not for you because you need someone who is your equal. Not in terms of net worth, but in terms of financial values. Find a guy who wouldn't quit his job even if he won the lottery. High school football coach, doctor, university scientist. Look at values. The lottery is $1.8 billion today, and if I won it, I would still keep my job because I love my work. Update 2. Hi everyone, thank you so much for all the comments and support. I took some time away to think, talk to my sister, my therapist, and my lawyers, and I've made my decision. As much as I cared for Tom, I realized I can't marry someone I don't trust. What happened broke that trust, and I know it would always be in the back of my mind in our marriage. Every financial decision, I'd doubt him, and that's no way to build a future. A few days ago, I asked him over and told him my decision. He admitted he messed up and wanted to try couples counseling, but I told him we're broken up. I agreed to counseling only as a way to see if reconciliation is possible someday. But truthfully, I feel like I'm just delaying the inevitable. I had already packed his things, and he was hurt when he saw them. That was heartbreaking, honestly. I felt really bad, but I knew I had to stand firm. He left with his things and is getting a new place. This has been heartbreaking and draining, but I know it's the right choice. Thank you again for the advice and encouragement. It really helped me get here. For those who worried about me making him homeless, don't. He makes good money, and we live in a tourist city. Before moving in with me, he lived in hotels and short-term rentals for months. He hasn't paid rent here for 6 months. He'll be fine. He's not ending up on the streets. Stories number 2. I left my boyfriend over his foot fetish and I hate myself. I was with him for a year and our relationship was fucking amazing. He constantly made me feel loved and always treated me with respect. He was always doing little things for me and would help me with stuff even when I didn't ask for it. The sex was amazing too. It just felt like we were compatible on every level. About 3 months ago, he told me he had something to confess. He said that he had a foot fetish and that he hadn't told me about it because an ex of his had taken it weird, and he didn't want me to think badly of him. Looking back, it was kind of obvious since he would always compliment my nail polish and was pretty eager to rub my feet if I asked him to. He even paid for me to get a pedicure because he said French tips would look cute on me. Nothing really changed much after that point. He wasn't pushy or anything, but he would suck on my toes during sex, which admittedly felt pretty good. I was hanging out with 3 of my friends a few weeks ago and I mentioned that he liked my feet. 2 of them started telling me that was a red flag and that he might be a creep. I had seen some people who were weird about it online before, but they were showing me all these websites and forums and people who take creep shots of women's feet, and I started feeling anxious. My 3rd friend who was there was neutral about it but told me maybe to talk to him because he had never really given off those kinds of vibes. I stupidly didn't and pushed it to the back of my head until I saw him again 2 days later. We were at my apartment and were messing around. He started to kiss my feet and I pulled back from him. He asked me what was wrong and I spent like 10 minutes just repeating what my friends had told me, and about how people who like feet are weird and don't care about anything else. He looked really sad and told me he didn't know I felt like that about him. He got up and left. I don't fucking know why I said any of that stupid shit to him. He had never been creepy. He had never been anything but loving to me, but I called him a pervert. And then I immediately turned to my friends and they were telling me that he was confirmed one of those creepy feet guys because he left instead of talking to me and apologizing. My neutral friend again told me to talk to him, but I spent 2 days thinking to myself that there must be something wrong with him. He didn't contact me again, so I texted him, "We need to talk about our relationship." He texted back he would come over that night, and he did. He was holding a box of my stuff I had left at his place and said, "I'm not going to stay with someone who thinks I'm a predator." Then he just walked away. I was stunned and didn't say anything, but that quickly turned to anger. I just thought, they were right, he's a fucking creep, I'm glad he's gone. I turned to my friends again, and the two told me they'd help me get over him and hook me up with someone normal. My neutral friend advised me again to not leave my relationship like this, but I'm an idiot. I'm horrible. I'm a piece of fucking shit, and I deserve fucking everything I get. Every night the past month I've been thinking about him, and the more I think the bigger that pit in my stomach gets. It all exploded a week ago. I got extremely drunk and had that horrible realization hit me all at once. I lost the man I loved over nothing. Nothing. It was my fucking fault and I would never be with him again. I was sobbing hysterically and called both of my two friends who had egged me on. I told them that I never wanted to see them again, and some other things I won't repeat here. I blocked them on everything. My other friend tried calling me, but I couldn't bear to talk to her. It was about 1 a.m. when I called him. He hadn't blocked me, so it went through. I begged him to take me back. I told him about what my friends had told me. I told him he wasn't a pervert, and that I should never have told him that. I told him I loved him more than anything, and that I trusted him, that he could do whatever he wanted with any part of my body, and that I would never think he was some kind of creep because I know he isn't like that. He cut me off eventually. He told me that if I was drinking to please stop and go to sleep. He sounded so sad and it just shattered my fucking heart again. He tried calling me earlier tonight, but I didn't pick up. I'm so fucking scared that he's going to tell me to just fuck off and leave him alone. I know I would deserve it. I know I deserve worse, but I can't do it. I love him so fucking much. I need him. I just want him to hold me again and touch me wherever he wants and tell me that he forgives me. I feel like throwing up whenever I think that he might never be with me again. I wish I wasn't such a stupid bitch. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are too easily swayed by people. You are the red flag. He literally gave you foot rubs and paid for your pedicures. LMAO, you lost out big time. Commenter 2. I only read half. You want to stop listening to your friends? They sound like dicks. You had a perfect relationship ruined by what could be jealous or immature mates. So what, he likes your feet? There's much worse things he could be into. Commenter 3. Lol, I also only read half. It was too upsetting after. I let my friends ruin an excellent relationship. Psy commenter 4. How old are you guys? Reply. I'm 24 and he's 26. Commenter 5. He trusted you with his kink and you went ahead and told your friends about it. That's such a huge violation of trust I can't even describe it. Call him back and see what he has to say. And if it doesn't work out, take this as a very, very valuable lesson. Commenter 6. Completely agree. I have a SO with certain kinks, fetishes, and even when talking with my closest girlfriends, I would never tell them about his preferences because I appreciate that he trusted me enough with them. There are certain things you keep between yourself and your significant other, and this is one of them. She broke that trust. Commenter 7. That poor fucking guy. He trusted you with a vulnerable part of himself. This is just a horrific way to treat someone. I'm finding it really hard to summon any empathy, which is pretty rare for me. Just awful. A case study in what not to do when a partner trusts you with a kink. Jesus. Commenter 8. You're a fucking idiot without a mind of your own. Did it ever occur to you that perhaps your friends aren't life gurus who know everything? Or furthermore, may even be jealous of you? Also, why would you not want your man to be attracted to and worship every part of your body? There are so many lonely people who would cherish a connection like this, while dimwits are out here destroying relationships for nothing. 1C. Leave him for someone who deserves him. Commenter 9. I showed this to my girlfriend and her exact words were, I don't care if his fetish is having you squeeze lemons with your ass cheeks so he can have a drink. If you're okay with it, and he's being a gentleman about it, let the man drink his fucking lemonade. Commenter 10. This shit is way too funny. Ass lemonade. Edits on the main post. Edit 1. I texted him that I would call him back tomorrow if he still wants to talk. He replied that that would be fine. Also about my friends, I'm going to try to talk to all 3 of them. I'm still going to cut off the 2 that pushed me to this because the more I think about it, The more I remember little details that make it seem like they've never really liked my ex. My other friend I'm going to try calling tomorrow. I really need to apologize to her too. I realize that even if there was pressure on me, this is 100% my fault. I should have taken the time to recognize that my ex was nothing like they were making him out to be. And I shouldn't have discussed his fetish with them. Although I never really discussed the sexual part of it, and just told them that he thought my feet were cute, I should never have talked about it. I'm going to tell him all of this when we talk. Edit 2. I texted him again asking if he'd be okay meeting up in person rather than talking over the phone. I would rather see him face to face and apologize directly to him, rather than over the phone. He replied that he was fine with that, so I'll be heading over to meet him around noon. Let me preface this next part by saying I know none of this absolves me at all for what I've done. But I want to give some context to this situation. I've been together with those 3 friends of mine since high school. We have always been very close, and I've trusted them with a lot of intimate details about my life. We all helped each other through bad times, and enjoyed a lot of good times too. They were also my first really close friends. In grade school and early high school, I kept a lot to myself, and didn't interact very much with other kids. I have other friends now, but no one I trusted as much as them. I think a lot of you are right in saying that I have no spine, and have let them choose everything for me. Now that I think about it, I'm struggling to think of a time when I chose what we were doing on a particular day, or where we were eating, and other stuff. And I was like that with my ex too, letting him pick whatever, even when he specifically asked me what I wanted. I know none of that is an excuse for my weakness, but that's been my life. I've already looked up some therapists that accept my insurance, and I'm going to call one to schedule an appointment. After reading a lot of these comments, I'm starting to get more scared at the prospect of him taking me back and me hurting him horribly again in some way. I don't know if I should tell him any of this, but I'm writing down some notes to keep my thoughts on what I'm going to say to him organized. First, I'm going to apologize to him for what I did. Even if that's the only thing I can get out before he leaves, I'm going to tell him how sorry I am and that I will go with whatever he decides, even if that means I never see him again. Aita, thank you for the comments. I know I'm not a good person, but I'm going to try to be better, and if he does take me back, I'm going to become someone he deserves to be with. I'll probably make an update post later if anything happens. Final update. I left my boyfriend over his foot fetish, and I hate myself. Before I start, I don't intend anything in this update to be taken as a self-absolution of guilt or blame. I accept that I'm the one that screwed up, and the blame rests solely on me. Why, I'm not trying to diminish that or what I did. So there's a park about halfway between both of our places. We decided to meet there. I arrived a few minutes before he did and was very nervous. When I saw him walking up, I felt the urge to cry, but I drove it down. I didn't want to do anything that would make him think I'm trying to manipulate him. It was worse when he hugged me, but I managed to compose myself. He asked how I was doing, and I told him the truth, that I was messed up. I asked him the same, and he told me he was okay, but he had that same sad look on his face from the last time I saw him. I asked him if I could tell him something before we talked about anything else, and pulled out the apology I had written in my notes. I told him I was sorry for everything. I was sorry for making him feel unsafe with me. I was sorry for ever insinuating that he was a pervert. I was sorry for betraying his trust and telling others about our sex life. I was sorry for not communicating with him. I was sorry for not standing up for him. I was sorry for not standing up for myself and letting my opinion of him be colored by anything other than the two of us. I was sorry for leaving him in the dark for a month and not talking to him sooner. I was sorry for my drunken rant, for trying to emotionally manipulate him into coming back to me, and especially for making him feel like I still thought he was a pervert. I was sorry for hurting him the same way his ex had. At one point I noticed he was tearing up and I just couldn't hold it anymore. I cried while I finished reading it to him. I told him that I was truly happy with him, and I hope he isn't put off from exploring his fetish in the future, whoever that might be with. He thanked me, and we cried together for a little while. He started talking and told me the reason he called was that 2 of my friends had contacted him and explained that they were worried about me and told him some of what had happened. It was the neutral friend, along with one of the 2 friends who had fed me the stuff about foot fetishes. I didn't get a lot of the specifics, and I didn't ask anything else because there was more important stuff he wanted to talk about. But I guess I could get what happened straight from one of them. Chache. I was a little deflated after he told me this, and worried he might think I was trying to manipulate him through my friends. But he quickly moved on. He told me the whole story about his ex. They had been together for longer than we had, about 2 years, before he told her about his fetish. The difference was that she was immediately disgusted by it. She told him she was leaving no matter how much he begged and promised he would never bring it up again. But then he told me what I did felt much worse because it seemed like I had accepted him only to stab him in the back. I wanted to get on my knees and beg him to forgive me, but I let him finish. In the end, we were both quiet for a while before he asked if we were done. I know I should have been strong and told him that I would go with whatever he decided, but I'm weak. I asked him if there was any chance we could still be together. He told me that he still had feelings for me, but that he couldn't handle me hurting him again. I mentioned the stuff with my friends and that I was looking to start therapy. He told me he was happy that I was doing that, but it wasn't changing his mind. He said there might be a chance in the future, after I've worked on myself, but right now he was too hurt. I get the feeling that he was just saying that so I wouldn't be hurt. We hugged again and said goodbye, and I had to fight every urge in my body to not run after him. I know I screwed up at the end, but I'm taking steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm going to call my friend the neutral one and ask if she can forgive me for not talking to her too, and maybe if she can come over and hide my phone from me so I don't get the urge to bother him. I don't know about my 2 other friends. I don't know about anything right now. I spent like 5 of the last 6 hours crying and I feel just about out of tears. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep. I think I'm going to just try and sleep, and then continue looking for therapists in the morning. I don't know if I'll update anymore, so sorry if anyone was expecting more. Extra edit. So this is going to be the last thing I'll post. I slept for a while and when I woke up my friend got in contact with me and came over. She wasn't the least bit mad at me and was just concerned that I hadn't talked to her. I apologized profusely to her. I really don't deserve her kindness, but it honestly felt good after everything today. To the people who messaged me with concern, thank you, and I think I'll be fine. I'm still going to go to therapy, to work on my problems and make sure I never do something like this to someone I love ever again. I'm probably never posting on this account again. I had some people messaging me some weird shit and claiming to be people in my life, so if you ever see someone try and make an update for this story, it ain't actually me. The only person in my circle that actually uses Reddit is my friend that's with me now. I showed her this, and she's assured me she won't post about it. Good night. Stories number 3. My best friend said I ruined her wedding because I told her she smelled. I never thought I'd be in this position, but here we are. I'm 27, and my best friend, also 27, just got married a few weeks ago. We've been friends since middle school, inseparable through high school, survived college in different states, and somehow managed to stay as close as ever. We've always had the kind of friendship where brutal honesty was our thing. If I had spinach in my teeth, she'd tell me. If she had lipstick on her chin, I'd tell her. We've both had jobs that required being on around people, her in real estate, me in marketing. So we've always been each other's checkpoints for appearance, breath, deodorant, all of it. She used to say, "If you can't tell me I smell, you're not really my friend." So when she asked me to be her maid of honor, I said yes before she finished the sentence. I helped with the bridal shower, the bachelorette weekend, all the planning stress. I listened to her cry when the florist messed up the quote, and when her future MIL questioned the color scheme. I was there for everything. The wedding was on the West Coast, outdoors in the middle of the day. Beautiful setting, but hot. Like, sweat through your dress hot. Everyone was glistening by the ceremony and by the reception. I could feel my own deodorant starting to tap out. I kept dabbing my face with napkins, sneaking gulps of water, and telling myself not to complain because it was her day. Now here's where the issue happened. During the reception, after the ceremony and the photos, the bride, my best friend, hugged a group of relatives. When she came back to stand by me, I noticed, well, she smelled. Not a little bit either. Her armpits were working overtime, and the scent was strong. Not unusual, considering she was in a heavy gown under the blazing sun, dancing, hugging, and sweating. But it was noticeable. And here's the thing. I wasn't the only one who noticed. I saw one of her cousins wrinkle her nose when they leaned in for a hug. Another bridesmaid shot me a quick look like, "Are you gonna say something?" In that moment, I had a choice. Say nothing and let her keep unknowingly stinking on her wedding day while people noticed, or quietly tell her, like we've always promised to do. I chose honesty. I leaned in close and whispered, "Hey, don't kill me, but your pits are a little strong. Maybe freshen up?" I said it gently, almost like I was telling her she had lipstick on her teeth. She looked startled for a second, then just nodded and excused herself. I figured she'd grab a little deodorant, maybe freshen up and be back to enjoy her day. While she was gone, I actually checked myself too because I was paranoid the heat had me smelling the same way. I slipped off to the bathroom, reapplied deodorant, and came back. When she returned, she smelled fine. Better than fine, she smelled like fresh perfume. She hugged her husband, laughed with her bridesmaids, and kept celebrating. I thought, okay, handled. She'll probably thank me later. But that's not what happened. When she came back from her honeymoon, we met up for coffee. I expected the usual wedding recap, funny stories, gossip, relief that it was over. Instead, she looked tense. She told me that my comment about her smell had made her self-conscious for the rest of the wedding. She said she spent the whole night worrying that she smelled bad, second-guessing herself, and feeling embarrassed. Her exact words were, "You made me feel disgusting on my wedding day. I was supposed to feel beautiful, and instead I was paranoid. You ruined it for me." I was stunned. I reminded her that she'd literally once gotten mad at her husband for not warning her about smelling at a fancy dinner. I told her I only said something because I didn't want other people thinking it or gossiping. I said, "I thought I was helping, like we always do." She shook her head and said, "Yeah, but not on my wedding day. You should have let it go. You made me feel ugly. I'll never get that day back. Now I don't know what to think. Part of me feels guilty." I never wanted her to feel insecure on such an important day. But another part of me thinks, wasn't I just being the kind of friend she's always expected me to be? If I'd stayed silent and she found out later that people noticed, wouldn't that have been worse? It's been weeks now, and she's still chilly with me. I keep replaying it in my head. Did I cross a line? Or did I just stick to the pact we've had for over a decade? So I didn't expect this to blow up, but since a lot of people asked for an update, here it goes. After that coffee meetup where she told me I ruined her wedding, I tried giving her space. I figured maybe it was just post-wedding stress, you know? Everyone talks about the wedding hangover. All that build-up. Then suddenly life goes back to normal, and emotions can get intense. I thought she'd cool off and eventually see that I meant well. Except she didn't cool off. Over the next couple of weeks, I started noticing weird changes in our dynamic. Normally, she and I text every day. Memes, random rants, dumb TikToks. But suddenly, her replies were short, like one-word answers. If I asked how married life was, she'd say fine. If I sent her a funny video, she'd just send back LOL. And sometimes she wouldn't reply at all. I chalked it up to her being busy with her new husband, Daniel. But then one of the other bridesmaids, Katie, texted me out of the blue. She said she felt awkward because the bride had apparently mentioned to her that I shamed her at the wedding. Katie told me she didn't think what I did was bad at all, and honestly, if anything, I saved the bride from bigger embarrassment. But still, it stung knowing my best friend was talking about me behind my back. I decided to clear the air and called her. She answered but sounded distant. I told her, "Look, I never meant to hurt you. I thought I was helping, like always. Can we talk about this face to face?" She agreed, so I went over to her place. When I got there, Daniel was home too. He greeted me politely, but I could feel the tension. We sat down in their living room, and she basically repeated what she said at the coffee shop, that my comment made her spiral. But this time she added, "Everyone else was telling me I looked gorgeous and perfect, and then you, my maid of honor, made me feel disgusting. That's what I'll always remember." Daniel actually stepped in at that point. He said, "Honestly, I didn't smell anything. But even if you did, she didn't need to know about it that day." He wasn't rude, but his tone made it clear he agreed with her. I told them both, "I get it. The timing wasn't great, but I only said something because I didn't want you to look back later and wonder why nobody told you. I thought I was protecting you." She just shook her head and said, "That's not how it felt. I wanted to feel beautiful, not managed." That line hit me hard. Because I realized she didn't just see it as me being helpful. She saw it as me treating her like a project instead of a bride. Since then, things have been rocky. Katie told me she thinks the bride is just transferring stress because she's struggling with the post-wedding "what now" feeling. Another bridesmaid, Jenna, said she thought it was blown out of proportion. But still I feel like the villain in my best friend's eyes. The worst part? I keep second-guessing myself now. Like, if I can't tell her the truth anymore, then what does that mean for our friendship? We're supposed to go on a girls' weekend in a couple of months. It's been planned since before the wedding, and I don't even know if I should still go. She hasn't mentioned it, and I'm scared it'll be awkward the whole time. I love her, but for the first time in 15 years of friendship, I feel like maybe honesty isn't the foundation anymore, and that hurts more than anything. All right.
Final update on this because it's been a few months and things have come full circle. That girls' weekend I mentioned?
I decided to go, even though I was nervous as hell. I almost backed out the night before, but Katie convinced me to stick with it. She said, "If you don't go, it'll look like you're avoiding her. If you do go, at least you'll know where you stand." So I packed my bag, slapped on a brave face, and drove out. When I got there, it was tense at first. Everyone else was cheerful, but between me and the bride it was polite, like co-workers making small talk at a Christmas party. We were in the same space, but the closeness was gone. And it hurt, because this was my best friend, the person who used to know everything about me. The turning point came on the second night. We were all sitting around the fire pit with drinks, and one of the other girls cracked a joke about sweaty pits while fanning herself dramatically. Everyone laughed, except the bride. She suddenly teared up and blurted out, "I wasn't even mad about the smell. I was mad because I felt ugly and I took it out on you." It was like the whole trip stopped in its tracks. She looked right at me and said, "You didn't ruin my wedding." I just couldn't stop replaying that moment in my head because I was already overwhelmed. And then I blamed you, because it was easier than admitting I felt insecure. "I won't lie," I cried. She cried. Everyone else awkwardly sipped their drinks while we had our little movie scene moment. I told her, "I never wanted you to feel ugly. You're my best friend." If I could go back, maybe I would have said it differently, or maybe I wouldn't have said anything at all. But I only did it because I love you. She nodded and said, "I know. And honestly, I'd rather have a friend who tells me the truth than 100 people who just say what I want to hear." I just wasn't ready to hear it that day. That was it. The ice broke, the tension melted, and the rest of the weekend felt like old times again. Since then, things have gone back to normal. We're texting every day again. We've hung out with Daniel too, and he was cool enough to tell me he respected how I handled things. He said, "Marriage is about honesty, but so are friendships. You two are going to be fine." And honestly, he's right. Do I regret what I said? A little, because of how it landed. But do I regret being honest with her? No. Because at the end of the day, we talked it out, and our friendship feels even stronger now. So yeah, sometimes honesty stings in the moment, but if it's rooted in love, it has a way of surviving. Stories number 4. AETA for telling my stepdaughter I am no longer letting her borrow my car or giving her any of my money. My 50M stepdaughter, 32F, has been married to her husband, 28M, for 3 years now. Her husband has always believed in separate finances and believes my daughter should work and split the bills 50-50. Despite me pleading her not to marry him, she did because she loved him. Now, 3 years later, my daughter calls me constantly to borrow my car because her husband's broke down and doesn't have the money to fix it. They are super bad with money, especially him, but she follows his lead and they act rich, buying things they don't need or spending money on. Experiences. My daughter makes more money than he does, and even though he believes in 50-50, he says she can pay the big bills because she makes more. He also has more fun money than she does because he makes her pay for car or home repairs. My wife tells me we need to help her because she's our daughter, but I told her I'm done funding her lazy-ass husband. I had a serious conversation and told my daughter, "I didn't raise you to be this dumb. Leave his ass, you can find someone better." My wife thinks I was wrong for this and says we aren't helping him, We're helping our daughter. I said I was done, and if she wanted to keep giving them money, she could go out and get a job. But she could not use my money. I recently found out that my wife behind my back paid for a roof repair that cost $2K. I was furious and said I told her not to be using my money, and said to my daughter, I'm no longer funding your lazy-ass husband, and you can't borrow my car any longer. If you want to stay with this bum, then you can suffer the consequences. My wife thinks I overreacted and says our daughter is upset and crying. She's asking me to apologize, but I refuse. Comments. Commenter 1. Stay strong. You need to protect your money from your wife as well. She's already proven that you can't trust her to not give away your money. Commenter 2. Your wife is the problem. She lies and enables her daughter with your money. Adults need to learn to stand on their own. If that means she's upset and crying, so be it. Commenter 3. No, but I would definitely tell the wife to put the $2K back herself and go find a part-time job to do so. We'll teach her not to give away what's not her in the first place. Commenter 4. NTA. But you need to sit down with your wife and explain that helping stepdaughter while she is still with her husband is enabling him. That's the reality. If daughter chooses to stay, then she has to meet consequences head-on by herself. She's in her 30s, not very young teens. Parental instinct to protect a child from all harm is wrong. Children, especially adult children, benefit more from having these bad experiences. It builds resilience, critical thinking, and coping mechanisms. Stories number 5. ATA. For what I said to my stepsister after she read my private journals, hey, I made this account just for this cause I'm always seeing these posts, and I really don't want to ask this on Twitter, Instagram, where my close friends could see. It's embarrassing to me. So my mom died 5 years ago when I was 12. My dad remarried about 3 years ago. His new wife, Stacy, came with a daughter who's now 12. I'm 17. Stacy looks like she tried to be a model in a small-town catalog once and never got over it. She's loud, but honestly, I just stay out of her way. I don't have a close relationship with her daughter, either cause she's basically her mini-me. As for my dad, he has always been a keep the peace kind of guy. Even when my mom was alive, he just hates any kind of confrontation, so he lets people walk all over him, which means he lets Stacy and her daughter do whatever the fuck they want. So yeah, we don't feel like a family at all. Anyway, after my mom died, I started journaling. It's the one thing that helped. At first I was just writing letters to her, telling her about school and how much I missed her. Now it's just where I put everything. How much I can't stand Stacy, dumb shit happening at school, the fact I have a massive crush on this girl in my chem class. They're literally my brain, on paper, and I keep them in my desk drawer. Never out in the open. So I got home around 3 days ago, and I hear laughing coming from my room. I open the door and my stepsister and her friend are on my floor with my journals spread out around them. She was reading them out loud in a stupid, mocking voice. She was reading a part about how I was having a bad day and just wanted to talk to my mom. They were laughing their asses off. Then she flipped to a part about my crush and was like, she likes girls. I really don't even remember what I said because I just started screaming at them to get the fuck out of my room. My dad and Stacy ran in because her friend started screaming literally. She was too loud, acting as if I was gonna kill them or something. And my stepsister immediately started crying, saying they were just joking and that I was being crazy. My dad just tells me I'm overreacting and that she's just a kid and she didn't mean any harm, that I'm basically an adult and stuff. Literally before I could even explain myself, he already took her side. Then he told me I shouldn't have left my journals where she could find them. I was so pissed I looked at him and said something like, "Of course you'd say that. You haven't given a shit about me or mom since they moved in." Then I turned to my stepsister and said, "Don't ever talk to me again. You're so fucking weird and disgusting." Stacy gasped and dragged her sobbing daughter out of the room. My dad just looked at me with this disappointed face and walked out. It's been dead silent in the house ever since. They're all acting like I'm this huge monster who needs to apologize, and kinda giving me the cold shoulder, lol. I know what I said was mean, but I feel like she crossed a line that you can't come back from. Aita. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Your dad is your only parent left. And if he's not going to stick up for you, You don't have any choice but to do it yourself. Is what you said a little mean? Yeah. Will it get your point across? Also yes. Therapy could help you guys as a family. But everyone has to want to participate. Commenter. 2. I am sorry you had to experience that. NTA in my book. Stepsister. Had no business reading your journals or sharing them with a stranger. Your family has no apparent understanding of privacy or respect for boundaries. Tell your father you want family counseling and respect for your personal boundaries. If he doesn't agree, perhaps you can talk to a school counselor. You have less than a year before you are an adult and can legally move out. So start collecting important documents like birth certificate, social security card, and any other documents to take with you that might help you with school or employment. Do you have any grandparents or maternal relatives you can reach out to? If so, you may be able to store your private things with them to keep them safe. Commenter 3. Go to your nearest hardware store and get a lock for your room. If you're not allowed, get a chest or a lock for your wardrobe and keep your journals in there. If your dad throws a fit about that, remind him that he told you to keep your journals where the bratty stepsister can't find them, and apparently your closed drawers in your desk, inside your room where she has no business being, isn't far enough out of her reach that she can't find them. So you have to take more care of keeping her out, as per his instructions. Focus on school. Try to get a scholarship to a college far, far away. NTA. Commenter 4. NTA. Your dad failed you big time. No reason to apologize to the little brat? She hasn't apologized to you. I don't even think your words were harsh. Believe me, I could come up with a lot more harsh and pointed. Just stay silent. Live in your room. Focus hard on school. Make plans for how to get out when you're 18. Do you have a job? Get one, save every penny. Somewhere the brat and your father and his wife can't get to. Find your birth certificate and social security card. You'll need them. Do you know what gray rocking is? Do that moving forward until you can get out. Complete information. Diet. Don't tell them when you're leaving or where you're going. Just go. Do you have grandparents or other relatives you could live with? Update. Aita for what I said to my stepsister after she read my private journals. Hey everyone, hope you all are doing great. I want to start by saying that I'm genuinely sorry for not responding to everyone individually, but I read all of the comments, and to everyone who reached out in my DMs, you guys are great. Seriously, not a whole lot has happened, but a few of you asked for an update, so here it is. First, to answer the questions I kept seeing. Yes, I have a part-time job, and I'm saving up. The plan is to move out the second I turn 18. And no, my dad isn't homophobic. He was actually really supportive when I came out a few years ago. Stacy isn't either, surprisingly. Honestly, I think her daughter just did it, 'cause she wanted her friend to think she was cool for making fun of the girl kisser lol. Anyway, after reading all your comments and making sure I wasn't actually a monster, I just decided to stop trying. I'm not going to be rude, but I'm not going out of my way to pretend we're a happy family anymore. I just act the way they deserve. Like 2 days after I posted, my dad came into my room and was like, "Hey, we ordered pizza from your favorite place if you want some." I just said no thanks. He looked genuinely disappointed and said he'd leave some for me in the fridge. I felt kinda bad for like a second, but then I remembered he's the one who let this happen. So I don't care. He's been trying to start conversations with me since then, but I just give 1 or 2 word answers and he eventually gives up. Stacy made her daughter give me this super forced apology in the kitchen. The other day, she was just staring at the floor and mumbled, "I'm sorry for reading your diary and being rude. I just said thanks and didn't even look up from my phone. The house is quiet now, which is a massive improvement TBH. I'm just doing my thing, focusing on work and getting out of here. I did go see that new anime movie I was excited about with my friend yesterday and it was awesome. Anyway, thanks again everyone for confirming I wasn't losing my mind lol. For real, it helped. Top comments. Commenter 1. Sometimes you just need to match energy. Give people what they give you. Your family didn't treat you like family, so now you don't have to do it for them. You probably have a bunch of Reddit aunts and uncles, now who are wishing you the best. If you remember, please let us know when you get out on your own. I was also one of the kids who left the minute they turned 18 too, It can be stressful and isolating, but the peace it brought outweighed the bad immensely. Commenter. 2. Look your dad right in the eyes and in a very cold voice.
Tell him that your mom would be so disappointed in him. Some fucking pizza isn't going to make his spinelessness go away.
Commenter. 3. Is putting a locking door handle on your bedroom door an option? I've done it, and some of the places I've lived in, and the trick is to keep the original in a gallon Ziploc baggie in your closet so they can
change it back after you leave.
something with a key that only you have a copy of. Not only will this protect your stuff, but it will make it very clear that you don't trust any of them and you don't intend for that to change. Commenter 4. Man, part of me wants to say that your stepsister is just a kid and kids do stupid crap, but the logical part of my brain tells me, you're a kid too, who had her trust massively broken by the only parent you have left, and the little brat responsible is clearly not sorry for what she did. Nah, you were NTA in the previous post, bud, and you're NTA now. Definitely agree with other commenters though. Save your money, keep your head down and run as soon as possible. You're gonna be okay, kid. Stories number 6. Aita for not telling my best friend the real reason I'm not at his wedding. I 29M was supposed to be a groomsman for my best friend 30M, as we've been tight since we were kids. This weekend, he's marrying his fiancée 28F, who I've known since they were dating long distance in high school. At his bachelor party last weekend, we started off at my place and transitioned to bar hopping, and by the end, my BSF was drunk, and the guys, all our mutual friends and some of his cousins, were egging him on to do a last kiss before marriage dare. For extra info, IG. I'm not a fan of that custom at bachelors or bachelorettes, because it honestly makes it look like you're being held hostage to marry the love of your life. Plus, it's just disrespectful to your partner, but that's just an opinion I have, and to each their own. But I knew my BSF shared it too. Still, I figured if had be, my BSF wouldn't do it because I know he loves his fiancée very much. To my literal shock and horror, he turned around, grabbed and kissed me. Not even a dumb peck, like he actually dipped me and held it for a few seconds until everyone was laughing obnoxiously. I didn't kiss back. I just froze and laughed it off when it finished. Later, I realized I wasn't having much fun anymore and bailed early, taking some of our drunker friends home with me. The next day, his fiancée first texted me on Insta, then on WhatsApp asking to talk, and then called me. She wasn't yelling or anything, but was just kind of awkward. She said she knew about the kiss, and that while she didn't love it, she was glad it was me and not some random girl. She said if he'd kissed another woman, she'd have taken it as cheating and dealt with it worse. I agreed, and backed her point, saying I wouldn't have encouraged or allowed that. But at the same time, she admitted she didn't feel comfortable with me being at the wedding now either, because it would just be in the back of her head. I was admittedly stunned at first, and then mad, then upset, but came to the conclusion that it was her wedding at the end of the day, and told her I got it and wouldn't go. She thanked me for understanding, but also asked me not to tell my BSF that she was the one who asked. I have already sent the text backing out, giving reasons regarding work, and my BSF was very upset and asked me if I could back out in any way. I freelance, by the way, and he knows this, so my lie wasn't a good one, and he went from upset to straight up mad at me for bailing out on his wedding day for work. All our mutual have texted me in our shared wedding GC and have asked me to reconsider and told me there's no way I'm skipping his wedding for work. I myself manage, some being harsher and some passive-aggressive, all very valid. Now I'm stuck looking like the asshole when I was literally asked not to go, and also asked not to say that I was asked not to go. Everyone around me thinks I'm this asshole for prioritizing work over my BSF's wedding, and I honestly don't know how to navigate this without losing people. Edit. He just saw the message I sent and is typing. I'll hopefully update once we've properly spoken. Thank you for everyone giving me such good advice and setting me straight. I'm anxious as fuck and hoping this goes well, as the wedding is literally this weekend and we have a pre-party I'll have to prepare for if I'm still counted as a groomsman. Comments. Commentaire. 1 NTA, but bro, don't do this to yourself and come off as the bad guy. He shouldn't have kissed you. That was disrespectful to his fiancée. But his fiancée shouldn't be asking you not to tell people either. She needs to own her decisions. You are literally shooting yourself in the foot. Just come clean. Commenter 2. Tell another groomsman why you're not coming. It will get back to the groom without you breaking your promise to the bride, who should not have asked you to keep that secret when you're taking the brunt of it. That's shitty of her. I also hate that peer pressure. Just one last time thing. For the record. Ugh. Commenter 3. She asked you not to tell him. You respected her wish. That does not mean you should not share with someone else the origin story. Tell someone, share how it was unwelcomed by you and how awkward it was for you. Share some details of the aftermath from the bride's phone call. Let the cards fall where the do. This is you staying out of their relationship and supporting it at the same time. But really, if he is your person, and you are standing with the groom's side, it's not your responsibility to shield her from the consequences of his actions or cover up for her. Request. They need to talk it out. Commenter 4. You need to tell her to tell him. Her lying and uninviting his friends behind his back is wrong. Building a relationship like this is wrong. Plus, she screwed you over. You lost money with all the things you did as a groomsman, and your friendship will be fractured no matter how much you and him try to pretend it isn't. Not only that, but update. Aita for not telling. My best friend, the real reason I'm not at his wedding. After reading through all the comments and some private messages, I realized my approach was wrong and wasn't fair to him, or myself TBF, and was honestly making me look like the worst MF on the planet. So I ended up sending him a long text explaining the actual reasons why, starting from the kiss last weekend to his fiancée asking me not to come because it, also very loosely mentioning that she didn't want me to tell him about it. After reading many comments, I did feel like I was for complying in the first place, but IDK I still felt guilty about it, even telling him that, and even just breaking her trust. He didn't text back for ages, but called me almost immediately when he saw it. Wasn't yelling or anything, but I could hear that he was really emotional. First, he apologized like 10 times for the kiss. He said he thought it would just be a dumb laugh for the guys, and didn't realize how much it crossed a line for both me and his fiancée. He also said he never wanted me to feel uncomfortable, and admitted he'd been drinking way too much that night. I told him I completely understood and forgave him for that, at least on my end. Then when I told him about his fiancée's request, there was a long silence. And slightly off topic here, but I was eating pistachios, and the sharp bit of the shell cut my lip a bit, and it was so hard to keep quiet, but I had my super serious convo cap on, so anyways. He just kept repeating like, she didn't tell me that. She didn't tell me that, I swear she didn't tell me that, and said he wished she'd talked to him directly instead of going around him, and that he hated how everything looked. Also said he had been the one to give her my number, as I had hers, but never texted her, but thought it was for some surprise present she was planning on surprising him with. After we talked, his fiancée texted me apologizing for putting me in that position, but she still stood by that she personally didn't want me there. She said she didn't want to be thinking about that on her wedding day, and while she wasn't mad at me, she just needed the peace of mind. To cut a long convo short, I'm going. My best friend told me he wanted me there, but also said he understood if I didn't want to push it with his fiancée, but repeatedly said he wanted me there more than anything. I told him I loved him and supported him, and I'd go, and that I was sorry for ever considering not going. He cried, I cried, like fucking babies, but ended well enough. Our mutual friends' groomsmen, I'm guessing, are still kind of salty with me because they don't know the real story, and I'm not about to spread it around as it's not my relationship and not my drama to share. My best friend did tell me he'll clear the air as soon as possible prior to the wedding, but until then I'm just gonna take the L on looking like a flaky fucking asshole. Thank you very, very fucking sincerely to everyone that helped me change my mind, and I'm honestly so fucking glad I put it on here, because I could have very well been a fucking knob and have missed my own BSFS wedding. It's this weekend, and we have a pre-party which I'm officially involved with once more, which is great. Thanks so much again. Comments. Commenter 1. I feel like this is not the end of this tale. Can we get an update after the wedding day, please? Reply. I'll try to, though I'm praying it goes well. Commenter 2. I read this to my fiancé, and he was wondering why she's mad at you and not the friends that pressured him to essentially cheat on his fiancé. Where is their invitation? Rejection? You're literally the victim in this situation, and she's taking it out on you. Commenter 3. Firstly, watching this while eating pistachios made me laugh out loud. Secondly, good on you for talking to him. It is totally understandable to be worried about the bride's reaction. Although at the end of the day, that is something that should be dealt with between the two of them. You never should have been involved. This is something he has to deal with between the two of them. He's the one who got drunk and kissed you. Good on you for being honest with him about how the kiss made you feel. It's never good to keep something like that to yourself, as well as telling him what his fiancée said. I hope this works out for everyone, that the bride and groom have a wonderful wedding and marriage. Reply. May any heavenly being truly bless you for being so kind and decent about this. I appreciate it. I do hope for the best for them, unlike the many cynics I'm seeing. Commenter 4. IDK man, seems like either the fiancé is delulu, or there's more the groom ain't telling you. Either way, I don't understand why this marriage is proceeding. Stories. Number 7. ATA for not wanting to tell my MIL the gender of my unborn child. I'm a 27-year-old woman and have been married to my husband who is 28 for 2 years. I am currently 22 weeks pregnant with our first child. We decided we wanted to keep the gender a surprise as it didn't matter to us, and we'd be happy either way. The issue, however, is my MIL. There is a slight culture divide here. I am Caucasian while she and my FIL are Chinese. My husband is their only child and was born here a few years after they immigrated. I am the youngest of 6 girls, seriously have no idea how my parents didn't kill us. Growing up, LOL, and my MIL and FIL never miss a chance to talk about what a shame it is my parents never had a boy. And having so many girls, it's clear they're unlucky while bragging about the fact they had a son their first try. This gets to me, but I've heard it a million times before, so I mostly ignore it. When we were just dating, my then boyfriend, now husband, explained it was just a cultural point of view for them to view male children as the goal, and to give him credit, he always shut them down when the conversation started down that path, though they always end up bringing it up another time. Now I am pregnant, she is pressuring us to tell her the gender. She was not happy when she found out we wanted it to be a secret and actually cried over us keeping such important information from her. She insists it's important we know what the gender of the baby is. I won't lie, I have a slight fear over how she'll react if it's a girl based on her comments about me and my sisters in the past. My FIL, meanwhile, is backing up my MIL and scolding my husband constantly for upsetting his mother like this. I know he hates upsetting them and is starting to cave from the pressure. I really don't want to tell her until the baby is here, but I feel like an asshole. As I know it's getting to my husband, he hasn't once complained and is always shielding me from their scolding in this, but I can tell it's getting to them. I'm beginning to wonder if I should just cave and find out to tell them, so they'll stop putting pressure on us and deal with the issues that could raise up later if it's a girl. But I hate that I'm being pushed to this choice. Comments by OP. Well, I didn't want to tell anyone regardless of this, but they're not helping. Yes, my husband has tried to tell them this, but they wave that off and don't listen. They have a habit of just turning up with no warning at all. Honestly, I'm just glad they haven't tried to move in yet. Some of my husband's friends are dealing with that exact issue after they got married and started having kids. Somebody says just don't open the door if they are not invited. Not that simple, sadly. I'd happily do this, but my husband has been raised in the belief of honoring your parents, etc. He'd never leave them on the doorstep. He does defend me as best as he can, such as taking the brunt of their pressure right now, but he is struggling against his own upbringing. Uy, I love him so much for trying, but I know none of this is easy for him. NTA for OP. Tell them that they're disappointing their son by thinking that he won't be able to produce a son of his own. That is a good line that I may very well steal. They hated him dating me because I wasn't Chinese at first, then doubly hated it when they learned I was one of 6 girls. He eventually got them to back off on this matter. I don't know exactly what he said, as I wasn't present for that conversation, but I believe it was a threat about it being me or no one at all. He ended up staying with me for a week after that and going zero contact with them to show he was serious. My husband actually doesn't want our child having a Chinese name or learning Mandarin. He hates speaking Mandarin and basically never uses it unless he's talking to his parents, and even then they communicate 60% of the time in English, and doesn't want to inflict it on our child. I've gotten him to agree to a Chinese name simply because I know they will freak the fuck out if the kid doesn't have one, as it's all about image, and how bad would it look if their grandchild doesn't have a Chinese name. But it'll be basically never used and will use their English name. The Mandarin, however, I'm letting him take the lead on this, as he knows firsthand what learning it felt like for him, though we've agreed to the fact that if our child shows interest in learning when able to communicate, that we'll give them the opportunity to do so. Edit. So my MIL and FIL came around this morning for tea, uninvited as usual of course, and began to apply their pressure again to demand the gender of the baby, and I was ready to step in, worried about my husband, as I know this has been a lot of pressure for him, but he surprised me by snapping at them. I've never seen him truly angry with them before. The only time I've ever heard of him being truly angry is when he fought them over dating me when they didn't approve, as I wasn't Chinese. But I wasn't there for that conversation, so this took me by surprise. To summarize, he told them that our child's gender was none of their business, and if they kept this up, then any future sons we have will take my maiden name, since I have no brothers to carry on the family name, as they keep reminding me. He then told them not to test him, as he'll burn their family tree to the ground. I don't know who was more shocked, them or me. He then told them to get out, and they did leave, though my FIL scolded him for being disrespectful and not putting family first. So it seems my concern was unwarranted and my husband is fine. Comments by Ope. I've never once doubted he loves me, but this honestly shocked me. I know how much the family line means in his culture, so for him to make this kind of threat, the weight of it isn't lost on me. They also seemed genuinely terrified by that threat, though my FIL did scold him as they left it lacked the usual heat. I feel sorry for her too, despite all of this, and I hope she'll come around someday. Weird, as it is to say, I got a brand new crush on my husband after today. LOL. If I wasn't already pregnant, no doubt I would be soon enough. LOL. Well, let's just say many traditional Chinese people would disagree with him, that his wife and unborn child come before his parents. Many would feel the need to cave to their parents on everything, as everything is a family matter, and grandparents rule the roost. Oh, I'm making his favorite dinner tonight, don't worry about that. Also basically gave him control of Netflix today, LOL. He's quite happy. I should be clear, my husband knows his parents very well. He doesn't feel it's a shameful act at all, but this would stop them better than any advocation. They'll never change their ways, so he did the best he could. He even asked me today after this if I wanted the kids to take my surname anyway, as he doesn't care. We're likely going to double-barrel the kids' names. Update. Hello everyone. 3 years ago I made a post about my first pregnancy on Aita, relating to the fact that my Chinese Mael was pushing to know the gender of my unborn child, and I felt guilt over the strain this was putting on my husband. I am currently 19 weeks pregnant with my second child, a bit of an unplanned surprise, as we had planned to wait until our daughter was a little older to have a second child, but it was not an unhappy surprise. This pregnancy has caused me to reflect on my first one, and I remembered my post. I went hunting for, and luckily remembered my password. I doubt anyone here cares much, but I'm in a reflecting mood, so I thought I'd post an update 3 years on, and if anyone wants to read it, then I hope you enjoy. Yes, my husband and I had a little girl. It has been incredible watching him grow from the amazing man I love into an amazing father, and she is very clearly the greatest joy in his life. We had a long conversation not long after she was born, and he actually ended up going to therapy to reconcile his feelings on his parents and his culture. He originally did not want her to know any language but English, and basically to ignore his side of the culture, but he eventually realized, thanks to therapy, that he was robbing her of a chance to have a more diverse view on the world, and that his experiences with his culture may not be hers. Through our daughter, he has gotten to see his culture through a fresh set of eyes, and it's like he's discovering it himself for the first time. My Mael and File, as you no doubt expect, were not happy that we had a daughter, and began to push us to try again to have a son almost immediately. My husband and they began to clash more and more as their behavior became abusive towards me and our daughter, and 2 years ago we cut contact with them. We are happier for it, and don't live in fear that they will drop around without warning and turn our whole day upside down. Rereading some of the old comments on my original post makes me smile, and my husband is laughing over how many of them were thirsting over him after he clashed with his parents originally. Thank you everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy my rambled reflection on the past 3 years. Comment: they don't even know I'm pregnant. We've moved twice since they were cut off, so if it's a boy, they won't find out. Stories number 8. I think I'm about to lose the best relationship I've ever had because of a situation I never asked for. I've been with my girlfriend for over a year now. We moved in together about 6 months ago. Things have been really good, and it was really looking like this would be the girl I would marry someday. Her brother just had his 2 kids taken by CPS. It wasn't out of nowhere. 2 separate reports got made. One from a neighbor, one from the ex of his girlfriend. There's a court hearing tomorrow, and somehow my girlfriend is the only person in the family stepping up to offer to take custody so they don't end up in foster care. It's complicated. One of the kids is autistic, 2 years old, completely nonverbal, and has serious meltdowns like banging his head on the floor. They both need a ton of care. Nothing is in place yet. No therapy, no structure, no support. I've already been helping. The kids are here right now, in our home, and I've been the one watching them while she works. I work for myself and sometimes from home, so I've been stepping in because I care about her. But I also told her, if she goes through with full custody, I can't keep doing this. I can't stay. I didn't sign up for this life, especially not like this. Sudden, unplanned, no safety net. She makes $16 HR. Our rent is $1,500 before utilities. She's got 3 pets. I've got 1. There are offers, from relatives to help with money or daycare, but I've been around long enough to know that help disappears the moment things get hard. Ow! And they will get hard. She's holding out hope that her brother will step back in and take them again at some point, but I've watched his patterns. He's not reliable. If she takes the kids, she'll be doing it alone. And if I'm still here, I'll get pulled into that, whether I want to or not. We had the talk. I told her I love her. I told her I'm helping right now, and that I'll continue helping until the court date. But if she takes them permanently, I have to leave. That was a brutal thing to say, and she shut down after that. I tried to hold her hand and she went completely still, like emotionally checked out. I think she resents me now. The worst part is, this was a good relationship. Genuinely. I wasn't looking for a way out. I'm not trying to abandon her, but I also can't let myself get locked into a life that I know I don't want. These kids need more than love. They need time, money, energy, structure. And we don't have it. Now it feels like she's made up her mind to go through with it, even if it ends us. I still love her. But if she chooses this, I think she's choosing something that makes it impossible for me to stay. All of this is happening in the short span of 4 to 5 days. It hurts deeply and my heart bleeds for us, but also for the kids. Part of me wants to stick it out for a while to see if it's something I'd want to do. But I know there's the possibility of lifelong custody and care. Comments. Commenter 1. She needs to talk to the family case manager from CPS about becoming a certified foster parent so that she can get paid per diem for taking care of these children. If she is just kinship placement, she probably won't qualify for some of those funds, but if she becomes a foster parent, she would qualify. I admire her for stepping up for the children because the children have done nothing wrong. She's trying to give them some continuity and placement with family. I also admire you for being honest about your feelings. Neither of you planned for this. Whatever you both decide, I wish you the best. Commenter 2. Sounds harsh, but she's trying to save her family and you're trying to save yourself. Both are valid, but y'all just aren't aligned anymore, and that mismatch kills even the best relationships. Commenter 3. We have a 3YO nonverbal autistic toddler. I love her, but I don't think I could handle it if she wasn't my child. I don't blame you for wanting to leave. Make sure your girlfriend gets the kid into therapy, speech, OT, physio, etc. It'll help tremendously. Reply. Started working towards that earlier yesterday. CPS worker met at the house to discuss kinship with my girlfriend. A friend of mine is raising an autistic child, so luckily, I was already a little familiar with some resources. The tragic part is the father hasn't really taken it seriously. These toddlers really deserve proper care. All of it is really devastating. My biggest issue is we're Or at least I am, just not ready for the financial and emotional responsibility this will be. Nor do I wish for it to be my future. No, unfortunately, I believe custody of the kids will be the undoing of our relationship, and soon after the undoing of kinship. They'll likely end up in foster care in the end. Commenter 4. She doesn't make enough money, have enough support, or have the bandwidth to take these kids. I know it's an act of compassion, but she cannot handle this. And you are completely right that you can't either. You are doing the right thing. I'm so sorry this is happening to both of you. Neither of you deserves this, but you need to step back while you can, and I hope she realizes this is too big for her and steps back with you. Comments by Oop. Thanks to everyone who's reading this. Just wanted to add a little more context that didn't quite fit in the main post. This situation has unfolded insanely fast. It's been maybe 4 or 5 days since CPS took the kids, and everything has changed since then. My 28M girlfriend 24F and I have had a truly strong relationship. We laugh a lot, we support each other, and we communicate well. I've always been emotionally available for her, and she said many times she's never had that in a relationship before. Before all this, we were talking about long-term future. Marriage, eventually kids when we were ready, continuing to build a life together. We're aligned fairly well, and I happen to have known her for most of my life. We just ended up connecting one day. We also already went through a lot together when her brother lived with us. Yep, he lived with us. He was a wreck. We let him stay out of compassion, but he was irresponsible and created stress in the house constantly. I'm the one who had to take the lead on getting him out. I've seen the toll he's taken on her, and I've seen that pattern repeat over and over. It's why I know in my gut that if she takes custody, he's not going to help. He's just going to be the dad who visits while she and likely me carry the full responsibility. It's not that I'm unwilling to help or that I don't care about the kids, BC, I do. I've shown up in real ways, even now while everything's uncertain. But the honest truth is, I know myself. I know what I'm capable of. And I know that saying yes to this, long term, would change my entire life. Not by choice, but by emotional obligation and pressure. It's devastating to think this might be the end of us. She shut down emotionally. I feel like I've become the bad guy for drawing a line, even though I've done nothing but support her up to this point. I've tried to approach it with love, honesty, and real thought. I'm really her main support line. She has a few good family members with good intentions, but they haven't offered her much past sharing some expenses. Not really even much advice. Her family has really let her down, and her childhood was difficult. And I think her current response comes from past trauma, BC. I know she feels completely alone now. I'm not writing this to justify myself. I'm writing this because my heart hurts. For her, for the kids, and for the relationship I loved being in. But I'm starting to realize that being a good partner doesn't mean sacrificing yourself to be a martyr. And she might be doing exactly that for her brother's choices. Boy, it's tragic. It feels like we're both about to lose something good because of something neither of us caused, and that just breaks me. It's reduced me to tears, and being able to get this out is really helping, so I appreciate everyone chiming in. Stories number 9. I 25N can't stand the incredibly low intelligence of my partner 25F of 6 years. I'm posting here just because I don't like talking badly about my girlfriend to anyone I know in real life. Also, this isn't even really bad necessarily, but still, it's unfair to her to start saying this about her to other people who know us. We have been dating for 6 years. It's been great. We share values and beliefs in many things, and we genuinely enjoy spending time with each other. As we are getting closer to the serious stage of any relationship marriage, I have started developing stronger concerns thinking about the future. I would say this has been on my mind for over a year, hoping and praying it would go away. But it just won't. And if anything, it's getting stronger. I just have a gut feeling I won't be happy in the future. A lot of our relationship, I've dealt with basically everything. Planning a 2-month trip in Europe and working on the day-to-day itinerary and places to eat for date nights. Activities we can do. Helping her get a job with building her resume and showing her how to apply. Prepping her for job interviews. Helping her with working on a healthy lunch for her work. It may sound controlling, but I genuinely don't want to do everything. It's just the way our relationship is, and she likes it that way. Why? I have tried multiple times to tell her that I would like her to help, but she always replies with, "I have no idea what I'm doing." This, however, isn't even that bad. As I mentioned, I'm used to planning and doing everything for us. It's just become my role. Why, however, as the years have gone by, I've always known her intelligence wasn't very high. Pretty basic things are a struggle for her. She doesn't understand directions at all. Her mathematics is really bad struggles with 21 plus 25. Even though we have been to Rome in Italy, she asked me if Rome is its own country. I was in disbelief the other day when she thought that the sun rises in the north and sets in the north every day. Seriously, how can somebody who has lived here for 25 years think that's true? I will tell her things that are important to me and she will forget them, and I'll need to re-explain them a week later. I have tried to help her with things in our relationship. Once she came to me upset because at her workplace she needed to use fractions, and she didn't understand any of them. She was struggling with 3/4 and 1/4, for example. I sat down with her and offered to try to teach her and make her understand. She told me, "I'll never need this again, so no need to learn." Her emotional intelligence really lacks with the fights we have. Being completely honest, and as harsh as it might sound, I think about when we have kids, she won't be able to really teach them anything, and if she does try, it will likely be incorrect. She gets upset that I correct her a lot because it makes her feel dumb. I have tried to help her with simple tasks, but her unwillingness to learn is what is affecting me. I have spoken to her about this many times, but nothing is changing. I just don't know how to feel. She loves me a lot, and it would destroy her breaking up, but I just don't feel happy anymore. Comments. Commenter 1. The tone alone of this post shows that you clearly don't feel great about the relationship you're in, or the person you're in it with. Unless you see that changing, sounds like it's time to move on. Commenter 2. And it would destroy her breaking up. It won't. I promise. But living like this will destroy both of you. Commenter 3. She sounds like she may have a genuine learning disability. Dere. Has she ever been evaluated for cognitive issues? Regardless, respect is pretty fundamental to a healthy relationship, and if you don't respect her, you definitely shouldn't marry her. It's been 6 years, so at this point you know who she is. If she's not your person, let her go and don't waste her time. Commenter 4. I'm sorry, but I lost it at the sun rising and setting in the north. That is genuinely one of the wildest things I've ever heard. You already know that. You're not going to be happy in the future. You don't even really sound very happy now. People and systems seem to have failed her along the way, and she's not interested in trying to bridge the gaps now. This is not your responsibility. I'd definitely be moving on if I were you. You're still so young. You still have all the time in the world to find the one. But she doesn't sound like she's it for you. Stories number 10. AIO to my fiancé victim blaming me for my SA because I cheated on him, me 24, and my fiancé 27 have been engaged for around a year, and I have been doing a ton of wedding planning and so has he. I started losing a lot of hair from the stress, and he knows this, so he suggested that I could relax, and he'd handle everything. My friends invited me to the club when they heard I was free for once, and I agreed. I did not tell my fiancé initially where I was going, but I assumed he'd guess where I was going, because where else could you be going in revealing clothing at night? I know this might be perceived as disrespectful, but he has always been okay whenever I dressed like this, and I usually dress modestly anyway. He asked me where I was going. I told him I was going to the club with my friends, and he just said, "Okay." My friends picked me up. We headed to the club. And that entire time, I did have a couple drinks and I tried to keep myself in check, because I am an engaged woman, but my friends had me drink more than I intended. A man approached me, whilst I was by myself in a booth, and he was trying to pursue me. I told him that I was engaged, and to please leave me alone. He grabbed my hand to see my ring before he proceeded to reach his hand up my dress and forced my hands on him. I immediately pushed the fucking lunatic and called my husband to pick me up since my friends were nowhere to be seen. He came to pick me up and I was frantically explaining to him what happened, only for him to pull over and yell in an accusing tone, "What?" at me. Obviously, I didn't think he was mad at me because I'd think my fiancé would be the last person to be mad at me for something that wasn't my fault. I repeated myself, and he started driving again and kept responding to everything I said with, "But why did you let him touch you?" I was in disbelief, and told him I didn't let him touch me, and I told him to leave me alone. He tells me that I shouldn't have gone to the club wearing what I wore, started talking slut-shaming all of my friends who went with me, and questioned why I didn't do more to protect myself. I cussed him out because WTF? Then he tells me that he is the one who got cheated on, and that I have no right to be angry with him because he was only concerned for my lack of self-awareness. Then started to make his last point about how going to the club was already kind of cheating and I should have consulted with him first. I am seriously considering calling off the engagement, but we have been together for 4 years, and he has never done anything to hurt me. We rarely fight, and he's almost always very gentle with me. This is the first time he has reacted this way toward me. I definitely saw him being aggressive with other people that weren't me a few times. I don't know if I should wait and talk to him in the morning because, giving him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he's just as tired as I was from the wedding planning and isn't thinking rationally. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Do you guys talk about politics at all? Feminism? Did you read him as the type of guy to have this reaction, belief system? If this is out of the ordinary, maybe he misunderstood what happened. Other than that, girl, if this is how he thinks, you don't want to be with a man like that. Imagine the kinds of ways he would parent your daughter. As always, though, things are always more complicated IRL. If you really love him, maybe try couples therapy. Reply: I don't recall ever having any definitive conversations about politics. All I know is that majority of his family are conservative, but he doesn't have a strong political stance, at least not that I know of, but he knows. Where I stand politically, I am absolutely not a conservative. Might I add, and has never objected to it. He has always been very respectful towards me and doesn't really engage with other women at all, if that says anything. And yes, maybe he misheard me, but I did repeat multiple times verbatim that the man had sexually assaulted me and he wasn't listening. I'll consider couples therapy. Not sure how it'll work in this situation, since this is the only troubling issue we have ever had. Commenter 2. Call off the engagement. This behavior only ever escalates, and you're very, very lucky to have seen it now before you are legally tied to him. He has just shown you that he doesn't give a single shit when someone has actively harmed you. You called him for help and he turned on you. What if you are assaulted again? We all hope it won't happen, but we know the statistics. What if you have a daughter and she is assaulted? What if you have a son? What will he be taught is acceptable? This man is not a safe person to be married to. He will probably apologize and be all lovey-dovey after this. But you've seen underneath the mask now. Those attitudes are dark and they run deep. Commenter 3. Oh dear. Apparently we need to do it again there. You are free. You aren't a property. Engaged or not. You can dress the fuck you want and go where the fuck you want. You don't have to ask any kind of approval to nobody unless you are still a child. You don't get S.A. A man say you. Your clothes didn't get you, S.A. A fucking stupid, violent, and horrible man say you whatever. Stupid people with stupid insecurity and views can answer, here because you are a bad partner. You are clubbing, yes, that is called fucking liberty. And if other peoples don't know how to go clubbing without cheating on their partner, that is not your fault and doesn't define what you can do or not. To be certain that we are all clear on that to all of whom think this way GFY. Next to your future ex, I hope there is no fatigue nor misunderstanding here. It's a way of thinking. Or he is a POS, and he is believe me because of how he react. Or he is a normal caring man, and of course he won't be mad at you, but at the other POS, who SA you and at your friends who left you there alone. But in no way, shape, or form could a good intelligent man be mad at you for what happened. Please call of the engagement. Respect yourself because right now, you are the only one apparently who can do that. Your partner, friends, and this fucking assaulting man, none of them did. Please respect yourself by calling off this engagement and find a decent man. Of course, Nor. Update 1. My fiancé M27 left home early this morning. F24 asked where he went, and he still has the same reaction to my sexual assault he did the night it happened. I'm very confused on what to do and if I am doing right by considering calling off the engagement. Some people are saying I am overreacting and others are telling me I'm not. Last photo is literally the dress I wore to the club since people have questioned what I was wearing, which I don't understand how that's at all pertinent to understanding that I was sexually assaulted. I stand by the fact that I did not cheat on him, nor was I being secretive about where I was going. I didn't mention it when I should have, but when he asked, I told him. Simple as that. You can't just be okay with me going to the club and then come pick me up, find out a man touched me without consent, and say that going to the club is in fact cheating. We are also very honest people, so if he did have an issue with it, when I told him I was going to the club, he would have said so, and there was nothing to suggest that he didn't want me going. The texts, transcripts of the text messages between OOP and her fiancé about switching to garden roses. Me. I need help, fiancé. Taking a break as you did. Me. Okay, and that's fine, but it feels like you are doing this out of pettiness. Fiancé. Whether I am or not, can you blame me? Haha. Fiancé. My soon-to-be wife got effed up at the club and allows another man to touch her. Being cheated on before my wedding does not feel great. Me. I did not cheat on you. I should be able to dress how I want, and you have always been fine with it. I didn't tell you initially where I was going, but I did tell you before I left. You had every second to tell me that you didn't want me to go, and I would have stayed. Me. And you know that. Fiancé. I let you go because I didn't think you would go and practically F another man. Fiancé. Another man touched you, and that is cheating. Me. Okay, so is it the fact that I went to the club or the fact that I let another man touch me? Me. Tell me now, because this is contradicting whatever you said to me the other night. Me. I can't believe you're still hung up on the idea that I cheated on you. Why is the fact that I cheated on you more important than my well-being? How can you, the man I love and trust with my deepest vulnerabilities, fixate on your wounded pride instead of wrapping your arms around the fact that I was violated? Please wake up. I'm furious, but mostly heartbroken that you don't care to consider what happened to me. Fiancé. The whole point of you going to the club was to relax. I let you relax because I care about your well-being. There is no room to care now when you took my consideration and went and cheated on me. Fiancé. I apologize that it happened to you the way it did, but you go to the club dressed provocatively and don't expect a man to try to F you? Bullshit. Fiancé. If you had an ounce of respect for me, then you would apologize, and we can go from there. Me. I didn't dress a certain way to be sexually assaulted. That sounds absurd, and is extremely disgusting of you to say, dude. I dressed how I did because you nor I have ever had an issue with it, and I did it for myself, not for anyone else. I'm sorry, but I have been feeling very ugly these past few months, given that I am watching my figure for our wedding and losing a ton of hair on top of that. So yes, I did go to the club dressed like how most girls would going to a club, because it made me feel pretty. Fiancé. All the excuses in the world, but an apology. Me. Where is your apology? Fiancé. I did apologize. I am sorry a man like that approached you, but it's not right to blame everyone but yourself. End of transcript. Top comments. Commentaire. 1. You are going to have children with a man who talks like this to you? You might have a daughter with a man who doesn't respect women? If you don't love yourself enough to leave him, please at least don't bring children into this. What will be say to your daughter to shame her? This is not a man. A man should be comforting you, but of course you know that. You put up with this disrespect before your marriage, it will only get worse after marriage. Sincerely, a Gen X woman who knows how stuff turns out. Commenter 2. OP, you will have a small, controlled life if you marry this man. And over time it will grow smaller and smaller, and you will forget what independence, support and confidence feel like. You will feel trapped, and it will be harder to leave. End it now. This is not a person you want to spend your precious life with. You want someone who will help you grow and embrace experiences, not keep you isolated and insecure. Commenter 3. Every single day, I read posts on this sub written by women who are dating villains. Reading this and comprehending that you are in a relationship with this man and still arguing about your sexual assault is insane. If your friend was sexually assaulted and her boyfriend said this shit to her, would you be supportive of their relationship? Would you believe she is safe? Clearly this guy's view of sexual assault is warped. Who's to say he won't rape you while you're sleeping, saying you can't rape your partner? OP and women in general need to wake the fuck up and dump these people. You deserve better. You deserve respect. This man does not respect you or empathize with you. If you had a daughter with him, and she was assaulted, he would blame her. Also, you'd stay home if he didn't want you to go to the club to have fun? Please. He is controlling. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's actually insane to me how this is even a question. You are young. Dump him. Staying in relationships with men like this lets them know it's okay. And that's how we get young men who are raised the same way. Young men and boys who think it's okay to assault girls in their classes, or men who assault women in the club. Please do better for yourself. Update 2. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for the advice, and I think I will be following through with calling off the engagement. But before I do, I need advice on where to even begin. We've sunk about $12,000 so far into planning out of an original $35K budget, with a rough split of 60% from us and 40% from our families, mostly non-refundable deposits that are killing me right now. Breakdown of what we've paid. Venue, $4,500 deposit, 30% of $15K total, non-refundable after 6 months. Wedding dress custom alterations already done, $2,800 total, with $1,200 paid up front. Photographer, $2,000 retainer, 50% of $4K package, non-refundable. Florist and invitations, $200 combined, mostly sunk, as invites went out 3 months ago. Catering, tasting, and planner consults, $1,500 in fees. The wedding was for 120 guests, so we've also got non-refundable travel booked for 20 out-of-town family members' flights to hotels totaling $3K. But that's on hold. Should I immediately contact each vendor to negotiate partial refunds or offer to transfer deposits to another couple? For resellable stuff like the dress or decor, we have $800 in. Custom signage. What's the best platform? FB Marketplace, Still White, or eBay? And how do I price it without undervaluing? Do I need a lawyer to review contracts for shared expenses with my ex? We're not married, but some was joint or is small. Claims court worth it for anything under 5K? Also, any tips for breaking this to our families without a blow-up? My parents are out 2K already, and super invested emotionally. Oh, I am very lost, so any stories or advice from anyone who've been through this would mean the world. Top comments. Commenter 1. I'm proud of you. Please move forward with breaking off this engagement. Even if you don't get 1 cent back that's been spent, it is worth it. And please remember that the wedding is off because of him, not because of you. This is his fault. Definitely call each vendor and try to negotiate refunds. I don't know if it will work, but if you're comfortable explaining what happened, they may have some sympathy and be flexible on their policies. I would write to both families and tell them what happened. That way you can say everything you want to say without getting cut off or pulled into an emotional exchange. Make sure you are explicit in saying this is not up for debate. Your ex-fiance's response to your sexual assault is not something you can get over or work through. The decision is final. You'll do everything you can to get their money refunded. You are so grateful for the love and support they were giving for your wedding, and you know they will understand that you have no choice but to cancel the wedding now. It's not a matter of disrespecting them or not trying hard enough to mend fences with your ex. This is a deal breaker. I hope most of them will understand. In this day and age, it should be obvious to them. Unfortunately, you may get pushback from some. Do not let this make you falter. This will be a painful time, and unfortunately, there's no way around that, but I promise you that with time you will get through and past it. Commenter 2. You're doing the right thing. Also, I'm an event producer. Here's my Rex. Immediately contact all vendors and explain the situation with facts, not emotionally charged accusations, etc. You want to appeal to their empathic side, not try to get someone to choose sides. Not that you will, but this advice is from experience. You're trying to get out of a contract, so this may not get you far, but come across gutted, sad, not angry. Simply state, unfortunately, I've made the decision to end our relationship. Without going into details, I was sexually assaulted this week, and my fiancé blamed me, so I've decided to call off the wedding. Can you help me cancel XYZ and discuss financial implications? For the venue, review your contract. You may be able to get your deposit back if the date ends up getting booked once your date opens back up. They may have a wait list. You can even offer your date up on socials and offer to cover $1,500 10% of their overall fee. This way, you'll still get $3K back, the new client gets a discount, and the venue is still whole. If the venue tries to keep the deposit no matter what, keep an eye on the venue on your date. You have a claim in small claims court if you can prove they rebooked your date as long as they didn't rebook at a loss. It's a double dip thing. They were made whole. Photographer, florist, catering, planner. Use the same concept as above. Florist and caterer haven't ordered product yet. You should be able to make an appeal with what happened and hopefully a full refund. Photographer could be harder since they tend to be smaller 1 to 2 person businesses, so try to help them rebook, offer to help at the very least. Dress. You will be eating the majority of the costs here because you've had it altered already, unless it was very minor alterations. The great thing is, it hasn't been worn yet, and you're selling while it's still on trend 2025 versus 2019, etc. Key, get it on the market now. Also talk to the places you bought it. They'd be a great resource on the best way to sell it. They won't be upset to help you. It's altered. Invites. Grab your besties and have a burn party. Legalities. You're not married, so no contract. Keep lawyers out unless absolutely necessary. It sounds like deposits have already been paid, so after speaking with all vendors you have deposits with, get a total, then make decisions. It's highly unlikely that family is going to ask for money back, but offer, making any refunds extremely equitable. Pay back family first, then yourselves. If his family gave $1,200 10% of $12K, and your family $2,400 20% of $12K, but you only received $1,200 in refunds, then give his fam $400 and yours $800. Let them turn the money down, but make the offer. This is you being the bigger person and will cause less hassle and a clean break in the long run. If he's a dick, then track everything and go after him for what he owes in small claims. You may not get the result you'd like, but bring your receipts, signed contracts, and dollars out and see what happens. What? I wish you all the luck in the future. This is shitty now, but you're making the right call. Learn from this. Figure out why you chose this guy and don't do it again. You deserve better. Final update, AIO to my fiancé victim blaming me for my SA because I cheated on him. Starting off by saying that I am so incredibly grateful for the overwhelming support and advice. Reading through nearly 4,000 comments wasn't easy, but I did my best, especially with the long ones. This is my final update, as I don't want to prolong this discussion on Reddit. I informed my ex-fiancé of my decision to end our engagement. He was angry but didn't try to harm me, so I'm safe for those who were concerned. About 3 or 4 days ago, I told him I was questioning our engagement. His initial response was, "Are you joking?" And he ridiculed me until I confirmed I was calling it off yesterday. He brought up the money spent on the wedding and questioned how we were going to handle those who contributed and what we were going to tell them. I assured him I'd take care of it. He then ranted about throwing away 4 years, saying he didn't care who was the victim anymore and that he'd never make such a decision because he loved me, ending with, "This is fucking crazy." I'll address some questions I was receiving, and yes, even those asked with less than kind intentions, and provide more context. The sexual assault occurred 2 weeks ago on a Saturday. The first person I told was my sister the day after, because I couldn't face my fiancé, nor could I bear it alone. I did not personally tell the rest of my family, but my sister passed it on to them for me. My mom called to discuss it, and was supportive, though I do feel like there's still some disappointment from her and others. People were also accusing me of infidelity and saying I wasn't telling the full story because I didn't detail the assault, and questioned whether I reported it or not. My focus was on my engagement, not the incident itself. No, I didn't report the assault. I was frantic and just wanted to get home. I repeatedly told the man to leave me alone before he touched me, but it happened very quickly. I froze, then pushed him off once I processed what was happening and left immediately. I didn't think to report it in the moment because I could not stand another second more in there. I will try to return to the club to request footage when I'm in a better headspace because I don't want this happening to other women, and I'm baffled people think that's what I want. Why? Absolutely not. Here's the missing context I was hounded for. I didn't plan going to the club. My friends who are single women suggested it after my ex-fiancé told me I could go out and relax, saying he'd handle all the wedding planning for the day. I was alone at the booth because they wanted to dance whilst I didn't. I haven't contacted vendors yet, but am surprised and grateful for the logistical advice and support offered. If you replied under that comment, I likely saw it, and you didn't go unnoticed. Finally, this decision wasn't based solely on Reddit. I was thinking it before I came and told my story here, and Reddit only validated that I wasn't overreacting and encouraged me. I'm aware strangers don't fully grasp my situation to make such a huge decision for me. I know that. To those in my DMs calling me stupid or worse, who also seem to be mostly men, your disgusting, misogynistic words won't change my mind. This is my decision. Thank you. Relevant comments. Downvoted commenter. So was it just touching and nothing else? Or was it more physical and you didn't go into much detail? Neither situation is right and is not cheating, nor you are right to call it off. Like you don't even have to be dressed a certain way to be assaulted. He is out of touch with reality and you deserve better. I would 100% go and press charges. Reply. For your curiosity, I have said multiple times how exactly I was sexually assaulted, and I guess that's up to you to interpret it the way you want, but personally, I was confused and terrified. It was not just touching to me. I was violated. I was also coherent and wasn't drunk to the point where I could make up my own version of events and dismiss whatever cheating anyone thinks I did. Commenter. 1. Can you have someone close to you call the club about saving footage? A lot of businesses delete footage fairly often. You shouldn't have to deal with it yet if you don't want to, but hoping someone can ask them to hold on to it. I'm glad you left. Wish you all the best. Reply. This was not something I thought of, so I will try finding out if someone can do this for me. Thank you. OP responds to a downvoted commenter on clarifying on who she told immediately after the incident took place at the club. Reply. The first person in my family I told, after I told my ex, was my sister, is what I meant. Obviously, I told him first because my last 2 posts have already said that, and he is the one who picked me up. I no longer wanted to face my ex because he wasn't listening to what I was saying and repeatedly calling me a cheater. Is that clarification enough? Commenter 2. Am very relieved to hear you are well, both physically and mentally. There are certain posts that haunt me, and yours was one of them. I hope that you request the footage rather quickly from the club, as older systems record over older footage. You have made a sound decision, and sound strong in your process. Don't forget some individual therapy for the trauma, but also for the end of the engagement. Learning a bit more about your former relationship may divulge clues for you to avoid going forward into new relationships. Best of luck to you, OP. Wish you happiness. Commenter 3. I'm proud of you. This had to be very difficult. My marriage ended in large part because of my husband's reaction to a SA. It feels like such a massive betrayal. The person you love and want to feel safe with no longer feels safe in the very circumstance that you need them to make you feel safe. I would really strongly and gently suggest that you seek out a therapist. This is heavy stuff, and it has heavy implications in future relationships if you don't deal with it. I'm wishing you all the best. Take good care of yourself. Stories number 11. Aita for calling out someone else's family member at a children's birthday party. I, 31F, had my child's 3rd birthday. The party ended up being hosted at my partner's 27th grandmother's house. It was mostly his family and a few of their close friends in attendance. About 20 people, give or take, total plus their kids. For context, the men in Nui, his family, were very spoiled growing up, and now as adults they often say whatever they want with no filter. Everyone just tolerates it. At one point my partner, his cousins, all mid-20s to early 30s, and their girlfriends were in another room playing blackjack before everyone was ready to sing happy birthday. One cousin, let's call him Jay, was dealing, while his wife made small talk about something her kid did that annoyed her. Out of left field, he made a snide comment. Well, maybe if you weren't so incompetent and stupid, that wouldn't have happened. His wife went quiet and just looked down. Nobody said anything. The guys laughed it off. I sat there, waiting for someone to step in, but nobody did. I've heard him do this many times at other occasions, but unfortunately I was either too far from the situation or occupied. But this time I had no excuse, so I finally said something. I'm like, "You have a little girl. You'd lose your shit if someone spoke to her like that. You're her example of how she should expect to be treated, so treat your wife the same way. So either apologize right now, or get out and let your wife meet you back at home." Long story short, he apologized. So I'm like, awesome. It's a shame I had to be the one to say it and not the literal men around me. Live with that shame, BTW. Anyway, back to the game. The women were smiling after that, but the vibe with the men did a 180. Later, that night when everyone left and we were winding down for bed, my partner told me that a lot of his family, because word got around, was mad at me. Apparently they thought I was rude, insulting, and that a kid's birthday party wasn't the time or place for that. Everyone just wanted to have fun. Won't get into how that conversation ended. But I am wondering, was it my place? Was it the time? Aita for ruining everyone's fun? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Not sure how long you're going to be able to last in this family. They sound terrible. Good luck. Reply. My partner's family is only tolerable from a distance. They're not horrible, but they lack a lot of accountability and are extremely enabling. Commenter 2. NTA. There's always going to be some excuse about how it wasn't the right time. It's always the right time to put an AH in his place. Commenter 3. Wow. A woman is disrespected in front of you and you are all mad at me. Why? 'Cause you finally feel the shame you should have been feeling this whole time. Or 'cause you guys didn't know anyone was noticing. I will not apologize for standing up for people being mistreated in front of me. We are all parents and I will not let the children around us see the crappy example the men and the women that back them up have set. I want our children to know kindness and respect, and if those aren't your values, you better tell me now. BTW. I wrote this to say to your husband op, 'cause he needs the riot act read to him. But it would work for family too. And it really is a question. Is this the environment I want my children raised in? How could this affect them in the future? Is the family willing to change? All questions to think about and discuss with your spouse. And if he doesn't act, could you be okay being with a cowardly, immoral man like that? I would lose respect. But I'm hoping he sees the light. Commenter 4. NTA. I wish someone had done that for me over the years instead of just sitting there watching me crawl inside myself. Reply. As someone who had to deal with the same issue. Same. Another reason why I couldn't just stay quiet. Stories. Number 12. Aita for leaving to stay at a friend's. After my parents grounded me at 21, while my younger brother does whatever he wants, I'm 21F and still live at home while finishing school and working part-time. My parents are really strict with me. If I go out, I have to answer a bunch of questions about where I'm going, who I'll be with, and exactly when I'll be home. If I'm even a little late, I get texts, calls, and a lecture waiting for me. Meanwhile, my younger brother is 18, and he basically does whatever he wants. He stays out all night, doesn't check in, sometimes skips classes, and my parents just laugh it off like it's nothing. Last weekend I was invited to a friend's birthday. I knew if I asked, I'd get grilled with questions and probably told not to go, so I just left without saying anything. I came back late and my parents completely lost it. They yelled at me, said I disrespected them, and actually told me I was grounded. At 21, I snapped and told them they only try to control me because I'm their daughter, while my brother gets away with everything. Then I packed a bag and went to stay with a friend for 2 nights. My parents blew up my phone, saying I embarrassed them and humiliated the family. Now they say I can't come back properly until I apologize. I feel guilty for sneaking out and maybe scaring them. But at the same time, I feel like I had no choice if I ever want to be treated like an adult. So, Aita for walking out and staying at a friend's instead of accepting being grounded at 21? Comments. Commenter 1. Why do you feel guilty? You are 21. Your parents are controlling, disgusting, sexist pigs. You need to make it a life goal to disrespect them as much as possible. Commenter 2. You say you work part-time while being at school. Do your parents fund your education? Can you survive plus continue studying with the money you earn and have saved so far? If yes, you have the option of moving out right away. If not, sounds like you'll have to apologize, keep your head down until you finish school, and then move out for good and go NC with them as a bonus. Don't get me wrong, I feel for you and the situation you are in. But sometimes you have to focus more on not getting mad, but getting even. NTA.P. S. Thank you, kind Redditor, for the award. Reply. I actually cover most of my own costs with my part-time job, which is why it feels so unfair. My brother barely works and still gets treated like an adult. Moving out is starting to feel like the only way to breathe. Commenter 3. NTA. You are grown adult, like WTF are your parents trying to do? Control you and your future partner? Your future kids? Did you think about going low no contact with them in future? Reply. I've thought about it more recently. It scares me because I do love them, but I can't keep letting their control dictate my life. Low contact might be the only way I can grow. Commenter 4. NTA. You are 21 years old, still being treated like you're 16. Why do they never do the same with your brother? Is he their favorite child? I would just find a friend to become roommates with and remove yourself from the whole situation. There is no reason for you to be grilled with questions and grounded, for not wanting to be dictated, and for your brother to be able to do whatever he wants without consequence. Stories number 13. Husband invites his family over when I am home, and he is not. I honestly can't even believe I am writing this because it just seems so absolutely obvious to me that this is not me overreacting. But my husband thinks I am being completely unreasonable, so here we are. My husband and I have 3 young kids. We both work full-time. I do all, and I do mean all, of the housework. Let's just preface this whole thing that. My husband has this really weird habit of inviting his side of the family to come over to our house when he will still be at work, and then doesn't tell me about the plans until it's too late for me to say no. This morning, he dropped our middle son off to me at school where I also teach. I had been there earlier in the morning and casually mentioned his nieces and sister were coming over for a play date with his parents after school. What? I get home at 3. He gets home at 5:30 and then coaches until 7:30. He in no way would be a part of this play date. When I questioned it, he went off on how they don't have school in their town and how I never want to see family, and then stormed off. I had to text his mother and let her know I had no idea about this play date, and could we reschedule to a better time. He was furious and said he vetoed my decision to cancel. Lamau, what? He's done this before. He once invited his uncle over to our house when he was at work, and I was home. Had the same reaction that this was totally normal, and I was being unreasonable for wanting him to be home for something he planned. At least having a conversation with me about something that affect me. I've tried talking to him about it. It doesn't do anything other than start a fight. Am I overreacting? TDLR. My husband invites his family over to our house when he won't be home without running it by me and says I am having a meltdown when I object. Am I overreacting? Comments. Commenter 1. Can you discuss this with his family directly? Ask them to talk to you about making plans if they're during hours he won't be there? This is of course assuming you don't necessarily have an issue with them coming over. When he's not there, more so that he's just unilaterally making all these plans with absolutely sweet fuck-all conversation with you first. And of course he doesn't see why it's a problem. The tantrum-ming little tyrant doesn't have to do anything. On the other hand, if you do have a problem with his family, on top of a problem with him, then that's a whole different conversation. But for the question asked, nor. And also your husband's being a jerk. He needs to get his lazy ass up and start pulling his weight around the house. And no, 3 sperm and a paycheck every other week does not count as pulling his weight. Reply. Yes, thank you for this. I don't have a problem with his family, although these conversations I try having with him about involving me in these decisions turns into him saying I do. Commenter 2. Nor. Can you invite your family over for when he's home and you won't be? Reply. It's funny because when I try to frame it like that for him, he always says he wouldn't have a problem with that LOL. Commenter 3. No. Go directly to his mother if you think she's reasonable, only because there's nothing else you can do. Reply. I actually just text her asking if she could contact me in the future because he does not let me know. So far, she hasn't answered. Commenter 4. Don't participate. Talking isn't working, so don't participate. If he tells you too late, say, "Oh, we have other plans and we're not going to be there." Then don't show up. He's setting you up to be the bad guy no matter what, so you might as well be the bad guy. I don't know what's going on in your husband's head, and I don't care because I don't love your husband. He is being selfish and self-serving and putting you in the driver's seat to have a bad relationship with his family. His mother acting like a petulant child with the veto thing is proof. I guarantee you this is not the only place where he is using weaponized incompetence to not actually be present and act like a parent without having to do the parenting part. If you think about your life having 50-50 custody with your husband, would your life be easier because you would have your kids on a regular schedule, and you wouldn't have to worry about last-minute changes, and you could create a really good workflow for your family? If the answer is yes, then he's not actually parenting when he has the opportunity, and you need to look at that, because 3 kids or not, you're going to start to resent that very soon. Stories. Number 14. You left me, family secret, not so secret anymore. So for context, I'm in my 20s and haven't talked to my biological mother since I was 6. She left me in the hands of my abusive father and my caring stepmom, who I view as my real mother. About 2 years ago, I reconnected with my half-siblings on my mom's side, and during my birthday I received a letter from my biological mother, or I will call her BM. BM's letter said she was sorry for being a bad mother and that she wanted to talk to me. She gave me her number, but I didn't bother connecting. I tried not to bring this up around my siblings because I was forced to accept BM wasn't a good mom way too young and my siblings are all teenagers and a 10-year-old kid. I refused to hurt them like she hurt me. So recently my siblings invited me to a family get-together. I didn't really want to go because I knew BM would be there. But I didn't really have a way to say no without explaining BM's actions and the fact I don't see her as my mother. So I agreed. I didn't bring my daughter because I swore that I'd never allow my bio parents to hurt my baby girl the way they hurt me. I left my daughter with my partners. Not important, but so I don't have to explain. I'm polyamorous. I arrived and was greeted by the eldest of my younger siblings. Let's call her A. A and I talked a bit before I said hi to my stepdad's family. I'm actually really close with my stepdad and his family, because they all made an effort to keep me in their lives and treat me as if I was their own flesh and blood, which is more than I can say about my biological parents. Anyway, after a while, the time I dreaded came. BM found me in the middle of a crowd, being loud and making a show of being happy to see her eldest child again. How she loved me and was so happy to hear my voice outside of a phone call. I froze. I never talked to her at all since she left. Before I could stop myself, I asked what she was talking about. She said that she was happy that after the phone calls we had, she was happy I was here in person. I didn't realize it at the time, but her tone was trying to get me to play along. My expression turned angry, and in front of everyone I said calmly, "We haven't talked since you left me when I was 6. The room froze, and even I could sense the tension. That's when my stepdad said, "Wait, you haven't been talking all these years?" I realized BM had lied to her family saying she talked to me all the time, and that she had been the one to invite me, not A and my other siblings. I left and went home crying. My siblings and I still talk and hang out, but they don't bring up BM anymore. Comments. Commenter 1. What pathetic excuse for a so-called mother. If she's been lying about it to them for years, I wonder how that changes things with her new family when they found out. Or did she just spin some new lies and they fell for that? Reply. To be fair, my step-grandma knew she was lying. She just didn't know how to tell her son, my stepdad, that the woman he loves isn't a good person. Commenter 2. I can't tell you how visceral my need is to inform you I read bowel movement every time BM came up in your story, so please enjoy the mental image as much as I did. Commenter 3. I am still getting used to all these abbreviations used in Reddit. My default for BM is more medical, and this time I didn't need to correct myself while reading your story to make it work. It fits your incubator bowel movement. Commenter 4. Can you please explain how you can be close with your stepdad, plus his family but not with your bio mom and their children? Reply: my stepdad's family constantly visits me, sends me Christmas and birthday gifts, and is just there when I need them. I've met my stepdad maybe 3 or 4 times, and he's just a nice and caring guy. But my siblings were all too young to travel from Florida to Alabama, and I don't really have a free schedule myself. Plus, my mom doesn't care. She only tried reaching out once after I met up with my siblings. Stories number 15. Fiancé 32M cheated on me 31F last year 5 years into relationship, right before engagement. He told me last night. Our wedding is in 8 weeks. My fiancé 32M told me last night that he cheated on me 31F about a year ago, pre-engagement. He also said that he ran into the person a couple of months after we got engaged and they kissed. I am set to get married in 8 weeks. Background. My fiancé knows this is a trigger for me. The boyfriend I had before my fiancé, who my fiancé was friends either at the time, cheated on me with multiple women, of which one of the times my current fiancé caught them and told me. More background. I have vaginismus and an autoimmune disorder. The first essentially means that I almost locks up and tightens during sex against my will, and makes it very painful. The autoimmune causes dryness in my body, yes, low libido, and fatigue among others. My fiancé has known about these since before we were dating 6+ years. I am in therapy for it as my body literally doesn't cooperate with what I want to do. I'll spare you the details from the last 6 weeks, as they mostly include him stating we have issues that he isn't sure we should go into marriage with, then transition to him saying he hates himself and shouldn't get married, to last night when he finally admitted that he cheated on me. So he basically deflected for the last 6 weeks, out of guilt. He said a lot of hurtful things in the last 6 weeks, and I've felt like I've been walking on eggshells. I am stuck between a compromising myself by feeling weak and forgiving him or be throwing the life away that I have worked so incredibly hard on getting. One friend says I deserve better, I agree. Another friend had the same thing happen. Husband cheated before marriage, and they now have 3 kids and a 14-year marriage. I know that not every situation is the same. I just can't believe the situation I'm in. 8 weeks before my wedding, and now I have no motivation to alter my dress, buy decor, or plan everything. I get asked 20 times a day, how's wedding planning? People are starting to book hotels. I need to make a decision. I need help. If I'm being transparent, maybe I need to be told that if I choose to stay, work on it, and get married, then there is a way to not resent him forever. Please be nice. I'm so fragile right now. I am currently taking space from my fiancé, spending my time outside the house, sleeping in different rooms. I'm scared to tell anyone in my life because if I decide to stay, their relationship with him will be ruined. I have told 2 of my bridesmaids so far, and his best man. Comments. Commenter 1. He's tried to gaslight you into calling off the wedding for months, and now he's claiming he cheated. Honey, whether he did or whether he didn't, he absolutely does not want to marry you. He's forcing you to make a choice so he doesn't have to be the bad guy. Commenter 2. He cheated before and after engagement. He'll cheat after marriage too. Calling off the wedding and eating the cost is a hell of a lot cheaper than the inevitable divorce. Your friend having 3 kids and a 14-year marriage doesn't mean they have a good marriage. She probably has to wonder if he is where he says he is, or if that buzz of his phone is actually his boss or a date he has lined up. Don't live that life. Commenter 3. He doesn't want to be married. That's why he told you. Cancel now. Send a blanket email to the guests saying that fuckface decided to come clean about cheating a year ago and last week, that you're very sorry for the inconvenience, but obviously there will not be a wedding. Thank you for your understanding, and again, I'm sorry for any inconvenience and appreciate their support during this difficult time. Commenter 4. Girl, you are worth so much more than a man who not only cheats, but then spends 6 weeks bringing you down and making you feel bad so he can soft launch the news when you are feeling emotional, weak, and stuck by the emotional wear-down and wedding planning combination. He didn't just cheat, he has been cruel and manipulative. You are very lucky he brought it up now so you can avoid making the mistake of marrying someone like him. Stories number 16. Am I the asshole for refusing to unblock my ex when my partner demanded I do so? Yesterday, I 32F woke up and made my partner of 6 months 31 mem and I breakfast. We were having a great morning. I ended up spilling most of the food on the floor, but we laughed while cleaning it up, and there was enough left in the pan to make him a plate. Totally fine. I don't usually eat breakfast anyway. The problem happened after he finished breakfast and took a shower. Once he came out of the shower, I made a joke, and he responded with a serious comment. I replied that it was just a joke, and I started laughing. He completely turned defensive, saying he wasn't in the mood for laughing. He has had something on his mind and he needs me to provide proof. He proceeded to demand I unblock my ex to send him a message, proving that I wasn't still talking to my ex. I was suddenly sick. I didn't want to unblock my ex to open that can of worms, so I held firm with a no, I'm not going to do that. He started threatening to text my ex. Apparently he has gone through my blocked numbers and saved my ex's number for a rainy day. I started shaking because he was demanding I text him or my partner would cancel the lease and leave me. We just lost our pregnancy, so I said, what if I was still pregnant? He responded with, then I would be stuck. He was very intimidating with words and actions, so I ended up unblocking my ex and messaging him, to which my ex never responded. Reddit, am I the asshole here? Am I overreacting? I feel like I should leave. The physical aggression and intimidation is very triggering from previous trauma, and I was terrified by how quickly his mood and actions changed. Advice is greatly appreciated. Edit. The joke I made was about moving in with my female best friend, while my partner goes on a 10-day cruise. She is married with 2 kids with no room to spare, and my partner knows this. Update. So I did it. After 4 hours, I asked if I could block my ex again, and he said yes. Later in the day, I asked a friend if she had free time and we agreed to meet up. After I told my partner I had made plans for late afternoon with a friend, he started screaming at me for spending time away from him on the weekend. He started the physical aggression again, punching the walls and throwing things, then told me to get out. He proceeded to lock me out. I don't have a key to the deadbolt and neither does he, but I heard him lock the door and then the deadbolt since he followed me out to the door. Within seconds, he then texted me, run away and stay somewhere else, but he literally just told me to get out and knows I have nowhere else to go. All I wanted was to spend a few hours with a friend and get some clarity on our relationship. Update 2. He came home from work last night and took my phone, so I started packing. It wasn't long after that he came back and got physical with me. He grabbed my hair and pulled me around and at one point slammed me to the ground. I was able to get away and I ran to my landlord, who then stepped in for a few minutes while he got his things and left. The rent is paid through next month, so as long as I keep the deadbolt locked, he can't come in. I'll update further as I am able. Comments. Commenter 1. Leave yesterday. Sane people don't act like abusers at the flip of a switch. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Reply. Yes, we had a great friendship prior to dating. Shh. I feel like our friendship has vanished since he broke up with his female best friend, not at my request, but I think he finally realized that the married woman he was best friends was emotionally cheating on her husband with my partner. Thusly, he was also emotionally cheating on me. I never said anything though. He came to that conclusion himself. Commenter 2. Run. Please run. You're not the asshole, but you will be very foolish to stay. Reply. I recently lost my employment, so I'm in a rough spot. Commenter 3. Ugh. Run away. And for the love of God, don't live with someone you've only been with a couple months. Also, if anyone threatens to leave you if you don't do what they say, leave. Don't let that controlling, manipulative BS in your life. Commenter 4. This is absurdly toxic behavior on your partner's part. Like dangerous, mentally ill level of insecurity. The fact that you felt intimidated and that he was threatening about the lease? You've got to get out of this relationship for your own safety. Gross. NTA, obviously. Update. Aita for refusing to unblock my ex when my partner demanded I do so. I'm still in the apartment for now since I don't have anywhere else to go. Yesterday morning he came in unexpectedly. Turns out he had a key to the front door I didn't know about. He ranted for about an hour while I stayed as quiet as possible. Even without me responding, he was escalating, so I recorded the entire exchange on my phone just in case. Eventually, he calmed down and tried to convince me that we could fix this. He said if he created one more fake scenario in his mind and demanded I prove it wasn't true, then we could finally be done. I told him I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life fighting with his imaginary thoughts. He left behind a large piece of furniture that he planned to pick up later. Nadidi. Later that afternoon, he came back in a completely different mood, eager to make things work. He touched my arm, and I asked him to stop. He asked if I wanted him to leave, and I said yes, but he stayed for several more hours asking questions about how we could fix things. I treaded lightly so as not to anger him, while still standing my ground. I told him there's nothing left to work on except ourselves, separately. Before leaving with the rest of his belongings, he asked for a hug and said he wouldn't be back. I gave him one last hug, and he left. Comments. Commenter 1. Time to put a bolt on the inside of the door and keep it in place whenever at home. Your ex is apparently more than a little unstable. Commenter 2. Girly, why are you by yourself in the apartment? You both shared? Like, I feel like it's a no-brainer that he would be able to have a key to your shared apartment. He could have done way worse. But other than that, glad he left, and make sure you change your locks and have someone with you until that is fixed. Commenter 3. Go to the police and get a restraining order. This man is clearly not rowing with both oars. He could seriously hurt you in his delusional state. Commenter 4. You need to report him physically attacking you to the police. Even if they say that can't do anything, get a report of it in case you need to get a restraining order. Ask your landlord to remove him from the lease and rekey your lock. In the meantime, you can get cheap door blockers on Amazon to prevent him from opening the door. When he shows up next time, have 911 dialed in your phone ready to call and let him know it. Don't let him back in by yourself, even to get his furniture. Ask the landlord to be there to ensure he doesn't damage the apartment anymore, so the landlord feels a real need to be there. Stories. Number 17. AIO for making my husband sleep in the car because he brought his ex's ashes on our honeymoon? Okay, I know this sounds insane. I, 29F, just got married to my husband, 32M, 2 weeks ago. We've been together for 4 years, and he lost his previous girlfriend to cancer about 6 years ago. I've always known about her, and he still wears a necklace with some of her ashes in it, which I never had a problem with. I know grief is complicated. But here's what happened. We went on our honeymoon to a beautiful cabin in the mountains. The first night everything was going great. We had dinner, opened a bottle of wine, lit some candles, super romantic. Then I noticed a small wooden box on the bedside table. Yakasam, I asked what it was, and he casually said, "Oh, that's just a bit of Lily. I always bring her to places that are special to me." I thought he was joking. He was not. Turns out, he brought a small urn with his ex's ashes on our honeymoon. Like, the actual trip meant to celebrate our love and new life together. I was so stunned I didn't even know what to say. That night, I asked him politely but firmly to sleep in the car, because I needed space to process. He said I was overreacting and disrespecting his grief, that Lily was part of his journey, and it's not like she's here in person. But to me, it felt like he brought another woman, his dead ex, on our honeymoon. Am I insane? I haven't told anyone in our lives yet because I'm afraid they'll think I'm heartless, but I honestly feel like this was way too far. So am I overreacting? Comments. Commenter 1. As a woman who is married to a former widower, one who was widowed at a fairly young age, I'm going with Nor. I had to have a chat with my husband early on. We've been married 15 years now. He would mention her often, and had several pictures of her up. I understand grief, and this showed me he was capable of loving. As time went on, and I'm talking a couple of years, she was still involved in our relationship. Similar to what you keep excusing as grief, I realized that my husband wanted to never let go of the past, yet still move forward with me. So I sat down with him one day and had a brutally honest conversation with him. I asked him if either he or his late wife ever cheated on each other. He said no. I asked if he feels like he's cheating on her with me. He said no, but he looked like the answer is yes. I took him at face value. I asked him if he thinks he's cheating on me with her, and he didn't answer. I told him I don't share well with others. That when he was with his late wife, No one else was there. She got his love, 100%. Secha? But because she died, I don't get his love 100%. He claimed I do. So I took him for a walk through our home. I showed him all the things and picture that were her or of her. He was houseblind. He didn't see that stuff because it had always been there. He removed them, and we began our life together. Just the two of us. It took time for him to heal, but he didn't and couldn't heal because there was still so much of her around. It was comforting, and he didn't want to be uncomfortable. Atai, uncomfortable, meant she was gone forever. We had several conversations after that. At one point I asked him to put himself in my shoes. I asked him to imagine a world where he's only present because someone else isn't. Yep, you and I are only being loved by our husbands because their first choice died. That hit him hard. The reason I've stayed with him is because he always does what's best for the two of us, not just for him. I hope your husband comes around and gets a grip on his grief. He seems capable of loving, but also incapable of moving forward. Trust me, he will never forget her. But once he realizes she can't actively love him and you can, he will get better. Till now, you've loved him in her place. He might even imagine you're her sometimes. That stings. Please take him to couples grief marriage counseling. I hope your marriage survives this. Mine almost didn't several times. Commenter 2. He needs therapy. You don't take your ex's ashes with you on honeymoon and sit them beside the bed. She might not be physically there, but in his mind he's keeping her alive through his experiences with you. She's always going to be the third wheel, and until he can focus fully on you and leave the past behind, this will never work. And I'm not saying he should forget her, but he can honor her memory in more tactful ways than bringing her ashes on your honeymoon. Commenter 3. God damn. I mean, I think you are super nice for being so understanding about the grief part, etc. I mean, I get that. It is complicated. But homeboy majorly overstepped a boundary here. The necklace is already borderline icky. I mean, keeping it in a drawer somewhere is one thing, but wearing it all the time? I'm just having visions of having sex with someone, and his necklace with his dead ex-wife's ashes just banging into my boobs like, yuck. But bringing an URN with your exes remains to your honeymoon, bro? Hysterical. Absolutely not. I consider myself a very understanding person with lots of empathy, but yikes. It would be either the urn leaves the room, or I do. Yikes. Your honeymoon should be about you two exclusively, and no one else. You need to have a serious conversation, and he needs therapy and closure. You can say goodbye and miss someone in a respectful way without them still being a part of your daily life. Commenter 4. Every day I read more and more crazy stories on this subreddit. Okay, I understand he lost his previous girlfriend, it's nice he's keeping a memory of her, but bringing it to your honeymoon? Nah, crazy. Stories. Number 18. Aita for not wanting to speak to my cousin after she prank made me leave a party? I 21F have a cousin 22F. Recently, while I was at the club, I got a call from her basically in a state of panic. She had called me because her boyfriend has passed out after having a seizure, and she didn't know what to do. Her boyfriend has some sort of heart condition, so I was freaking out. I couldn't hear that well because of the music, but I could hear her crying and having a panic attack. I told her to calm down and call 911 then to call me back when they get there. Oh, I currently am living in another state 20 hours away, so there's not much I could do. But since she was freaking out, I left my friends and walked back to my apartment at 1 a.m. calling anyone that was near her to go check on her. On my way back, I got catcalled twice. Normally, I would never put myself in that situation, but I couldn't just stay at the party. I called her back, no answer. At this point, I'm freaking out. I get to my apartment, I call back, and her boyfriend picks up the phone and I was confused. I asked if he was okay, and he said yeah, then I asked for my cousin, and he put her on, and when I asked her what happened, she told me it was just a prank. When I tell you, I broke out into tears. I was so mad that I told her off and hung up. She keeps texting and calling, but I don't respond. I'm really upset with her. Something like that isn't a funny prank. So am I the asshole for not wanting to talk to her? Update. Thank you all for your comments. Right now I'm still not talking to her, but I don't think I can do this forever. She has been someone that's always with me since I was born, literally, so it hurt more what she did. Apparently they were at a party, her and her BF, so that's when she got dared. I'm pretty sure she was drunk. But I was also drunk, so that doesn't mix well. Commenter. NTA, but you should probably tell her BF what she did. She's using his medical condition as a joke. I don't think he'll find that as funny as she did. Reply. They were together at a party when she called me, so he knows what happened. Update post. It's been about a month and a half since my last post and a few things have happened. First, I want to thank everyone who commented. It really made me think about our relationship and the things that lead up to that night. Since that I have keep LC low contact like some of y'all suggested. It has put things into perspective. Now the update. After the initial incident, my cousin didn't message me for 3 weeks. At first I thought she expected me to reach out first or something. She didn't message me until the Monday before Thanksgiving. We were both going to be in town. When she messaged me, the only thing she asked was if I was still mad, and I replied yes. In which that she messaged, "All right, great talk." After reading this, I then responded back with a long message, asking how she expected me to forgive her when she couldn't even message me to apologize sober. We got into a heat argument in which she said that although she is sorry, and it was a bad joke, what she did was still a joke. After that message I stopped texting back. That made me even more mad that she couldn't be accountable for her actions. Come Thanksgiving Day. She comes over to my house without telling me and is chatting with my parents, and I'm silent. After half an hour she gets up to leave and my mom followed her. When my mom got back she was upset with me because apparently she was going to spend Thanksgiving with me this year so she wouldn't be bored at her house. I told my mom that I didn't want to be near her, especially since we hadn't resolved our issues. My mom told me I shouldn't hold a grudge against her anymore, but I can't. She broke my trust. We having spoken since. Now the adults in my family thinks I'm the asshole. Some of comments, to a deleted comment. If I'm being frank, honesty and trust are really big for me. Like my nephew lied to me about something once, and our relationship has never been the same. So this situation has put me through the ringer. I've cried and had a whole therapy session about it, and I still don't know whether I can ever see her the same way again. And it made it even worse that she defeated it by saying it was a joke. Commenter. OP, what did your cousin tell your family? I doubt that she told the truth because it's hard to believe they would think you're the AH here. And still NTA. Reply? I don't know what she told them. All I know is our parents didn't know we weren't talking until Thanksgiving Day, because when my mom told me she was in town I was like, "Hey," and then I proceeded to tell her what happened. Commenter. You are 21, you are an adult in your family. Adult enough to choose your own company and tell everyone else to mind their own business. Reply. Lol, I know I'm 21, but I come from a Hispanic family so I can be 45, and still not be an adult in their eyes. But I understand your point. Honestly, it's hard because for them, even if a family member did you wrong, you can't just not see them as family. So they have a hard time understanding that just 'cause we're family doesn't mean I have to tolerate this behavior. When asked if she told her mom, I told my mom all of this kinda. Like because she speaks Spanish, it was hard to convey my emotions about it, since it's not my first language, and I started to tear up talking about it, so I cut the conversation short. My family is really into forgiving and forgetting because of the sake of family, so it's hard for her to understand why I don't forgive her. And I also like a secret life from my family. So if I tell them everything, they are more likely going to be upset at me being out at 1 a.m. than what she did. Cure? It's complicated to say the least. Commenter. Is this typically the way she behaves? If so, definitely NTA. If this was a one-time thing and she had given a real and sincere apology, I would say you were kinda TA. But since she's given no real apology and only excused her actions, then NTA. Reply. The thing is, she has never been like this, and we have had conversations in the past about how, if people don't give you a real apology, then you shouldn't forgive, but she is doing the same thing. When I texted her, I told her I expected a sober apology since drunk. Her thought it would be funny to call me sober, her should take responsibility, but she said she was sober because she sobered up after the second call. I told her how she made me feel, how I had to have a therapy session about it, how I was crying in my room for a whole week because I didn't know what to do. She was my best friend, like since birth. I consider her a sister, so I didn't know what to do. "Oi, I'm 20 hours away from home, and I'm having a hard time with it," which she knows. I want to forgive her so bad, but I can't, when she can't even acknowledge she was in the wrong, and that it was, and will never be a joke. Stories. Number 19. My grandparents' friend made a rude joke at dinner, and I walked out. So I'm 25, and last weekend my grandparents invited me over for dinner at their house. They live in a small town outside of Des Moines, Iowa, and they're those old-school Sunday dinner every week type of people. My grandma Patricia had been calling me all week, reminding me about it, telling me she was making her famous pot roast. My grandpa Leonard was excited too, mostly because he wanted to show me his new garden shed. They're sweet people, and I try to make time for them even though I work long hours in the city. When I arrived, the table was already set, and besides my grandparents, there were a couple of their longtime friends there, Marjorie, who I've known since I was little, and her husband, Frank. Now, Frank has always been kind of a character. He's the type of guy who thinks he's hilarious but has never updated his humor past 1978. He makes jokes that feel like he's testing whether people will laugh or call him out, and unfortunately, most of the family usually just nervously laughs to avoid conflict. Dinner started off fine. Grandma served the pot roast, mashed potatoes, and green beans. We were all chatting about work, the weather, and my younger cousin Jenna, who just started college. But then, out of nowhere, Frank decided to turn the conversation in a weird direction. He looked at me and said, "So, you got yourself a girlfriend yet? Or are you one of those, what do they call it, woke types now?" I literally froze, fork halfway to my mouth. I just said, yeah, I have a girlfriend. Her name's Emily." Instead of just moving on like a normal person, Frank smirked and said, "Well, good for you, son. For a second there, I thought maybe you were batting for the other team. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know." Then he made this exaggerated limp wrist gesture and chuckled to himself like he was the star of his own 80s sitcom. The whole table went silent. My grandma gave him a sharp look like she was begging him to shut up, but he kept going. Back in my day, if a man showed up to dinner at 25 without a wife and kids, we'd start to wonder. These days, I guess people got different priorities, huh? I felt my ears burning. I don't think I've ever been so embarrassed in front of my grandparents. I looked over at Grandpa Leonard, and he just stared at his plate, clearly uncomfortable, but not saying anything. Grandma muttered something about, "Times have changed, Frank," but it was barely above a whisper. I could feel the anger building, so I put my fork down and said, "That's not funny. At all." Frank laughed again like I was proving his point. "Oh, come on, kid, don't be so sensitive. It's just a joke." That was it for me. I pushed my chair back and said, "If that's your idea of a joke, then I don't need to sit here and listen to it." And I grabbed my coat and walked out. I could hear my grandma calling my name as I left, but I was so heated that I didn't turn back. I drove straight home, hands shaking on the wheel. By the time I got to my apartment, I had texts from both my grandparents. Grandma apologized for Frank's behavior, saying she didn't know why he had to run his mouth like that. Grandpa's text was short, just, "Sorry about tonight. Don't be a stranger." The next day, I got a long message from my mom. She had apparently gotten a phone call from Grandma filling her in. My mom told me she understood why I was upset, but that Frank is just old-fashioned, and I shouldn't have stormed out. She said it embarrassed Grandma when I left, and that I should have taken the high road instead of making a scene. But here's the thing. I don't think standing up for myself was making a scene. I didn't yell. I didn't cuss him out. I just removed myself from a situation where someone thought it was okay to humiliate me in front of family. Still, I can't help but feel guilty. My grandparents are in their late 70s. I don't know how many more dinners like that I'll get with them. Part of me worries I let Frank ruin something that could have just been brushed off. But the other part of me knows if I stayed, it would have eaten me alive inside to just laugh along like nothing happened. Since then, I've talked briefly to Grandma on the phone, and she told me she loves me, that she understands, and that she'll handle Frank if he's ever at the table again. I haven't heard from Frank directly, but Marjorie left me a voicemail saying I need to learn to laugh at a joke and that I hurt my grandparents' feelings. So yeah, I left dinner after my grandparents' friend made a rude joke. And I still don't know if I was right to walk out or if I should have swallowed my pride for the sake of keeping the peace. So a few weeks have passed since that dinner, and I figured I'd come back with an update because things definitely didn't just blow over quietly. After I posted, I decided to keep some space between me and my grandparents just to cool off. Not because I was mad at them, but because I needed to calm down before I said something I'd regret. I called Grandma once that week to check in, and she told me not to worry. She said Frank wasn't welcome at their table again, unless he learns how to keep his mouth shut. But then she sighed and said Marjorie was upset with her, and that kind of made me feel guilty all over again. The real drama kicked in at my cousin Jenna's birthday party. It was at a local park, a big family gathering with grills and picnic tables. I figured I'd show up, celebrate, and avoid the topic. Of course, life had other plans. Frank and Marjorie were there. The second I walked up, I could feel it. That thick, heavy tension where everyone's pretending nothing's wrong. Marjorie gave me a stiff little smile and muttered hello. But Frank, he made this big, exaggerated gesture like shielding his armpits and sniffing himself, and then laughed like a hyena. It was such an obvious dig. I just stood there stunned. I caught Grandma's eye across the table, and she looked mortified. She actually stood up and said, "Frank, enough!" But of course he doubled down. "What? I'm just joking. This family used to have a sense of humor. Now the young ones get offended by everything." He looked right at me and added, "Guess I better not say anything, or I'll get stormed out on again." That was the moment. Half the family went silent. Some people looked away, and my mom tried to awkwardly laugh it off. But I wasn't going to let him drag me like that. I just said calmly, "You know, Frank, jokes are supposed to be funny. If everyone goes quiet and you're the only one laughing, maybe it's not the rest of us. Maybe it's you." It was like someone had pulled the plug on him. He sputtered a little, turned red, and then grabbed a beer and wandered off toward the grill. After that, things were still awkward, but at least he left me alone. Later that night, Grandma patted my arm and whispered, "Thank you for not letting him get away with it." Grandpa, who usually stays out of drama, told me, "You handled yourself well, better than I would have at your age." That actually meant a lot. The fallout didn't stop there, though. The next day, Marjorie called my mom and complained that I disrespected her husband in front of the whole family. Mom called me after and said, "You could have just ignored him. Now it's a whole thing." I snapped a little and said, "Well, maybe if he learned to keep his mouth shut, it wouldn't be a whole thing." For once, Dad actually backed me up. He told Mom, "Patricia and Leonard invited him. They can uninvite him. But if he's there, our kid has every right to defend himself." I think that shut her up, because she dropped it after that. Since then, Grandma told me privately that she and Marjorie had a falling out over this. Apparently, Marjorie thinks the world is too politically correct and doesn't see what Frank said as a big deal. Grandma told her, "Well, if it were your grandson sitting there, would you think it was funny then?" They haven't spoken much since. It makes me feel bad that I may have driven a wedge between old friends, but at the same time, it's not like I asked for any of this. I didn't start it. Frank did. And if holding him accountable finally made other people stop excusing his behavior, then maybe it's for the best. The good news is, I went back over to my grandparents' house last Sunday for dinner. Just the three of us. No Frank, no drama. Grandma made roast chicken this time. Grandpa showed me the tomatoes in his garden, and everything felt normal again. At one point, Grandma even joked, "If anyone's rude at the table tonight, they can go eat in the garage." We all laughed, and it was exactly the kind of evening I needed to remind me why I love being around them. So yeah, things are still a little messy in the extended family, but at least I know where I stand. I'm not going to sit quietly, just to protect the ego of some old man who refuses to realize the world doesn't revolve around his outdated sense of humor. If that makes me the sensitive one, so be it. Final update on this whole saga because I think it's finally run its course. After my last post, things stayed quiet for a while. Frank and Marjorie kept their distance, and I was fine with that. I kept visiting my grandparents, and those dinners were back to being calm and wholesome again. Honestly, I thought that was the end of it. But last weekend, the entire extended family got together for Grandpa Leonard's birthday. It was one of those big milestone birthdays, so everyone was invited. Cousins, aunts, neighbors, even people I hadn't seen since I was a kid. I knew there was a chance Frank would be there, but I decided ahead of time that I wasn't going to let him ruin it. Sure enough, he showed up with Marjorie. I braced myself, but to my surprise, he didn't make any snide comments right away. He shook my hand, gave me one of those half-hearted manly pats on the back, and muttered, "Good to see you." I figured he was just keeping up appearances. Later that evening, after the cake, he actually pulled me aside on the porch. I was ready to roll my eyes and walk away, but instead he sighed and said, "Look, kid, I know I've been a pain in the ass. I thought I was being funny, but clearly, I wasn't. I don't like how it's caused problems for your grandparents. They're good people, and they don't deserve the stress." I just stood there, kind of stunned. Frank, the guy who doubled down at every chance, was admitting fault. He even went on to say, "I've been told more than once that my jokes don't land the way I think they do. Maybe it's time I shut my mouth more often." It wasn't the most heartfelt apology in the world, but it was something. I told him, "I appreciate you saying that. I don't expect us to be best friends, but all I ask is basic respect. That's it." He nodded, and we left it at that. Inside, Grandma winked at me like she knew exactly what just happened. Later she told me, sometimes old dogs learn new tricks. Sometimes they don't. But at least he tried. Since then, things have been surprisingly okay. At family gatherings, Frank keeps his comments neutral, and Marjorie seems to have cooled off a little too. My mom admitted she was wrong about me making a scene, and said she was proud of me for standing my ground. That honestly meant a lot, because she's not someone who admits being wrong often. I don't think Frank and I will ever have a warm relationship, and that's fine. I don't need him to like me. What matters is that my grandparents and I are good, and family dinners don't feel like walking into a minefield anymore. So yeah, final takeaway? Sometimes people will test your boundaries, intentionally or not. And sometimes you have to risk being the difficult one to show them you won't let them cross the line. I'm glad I didn't just laugh it off, because it forced a change. It wasn't easy, but I can finally sit at the table with my family again without dreading what's coming out of Frank's mouth. And honestly, that feels like a win. Stories number 20. Aita for telling my dad he doesn't have to approve of my gay brother. I, 28M, have a younger brother, 24M. Let's call him Jake. Jake came out as gay a couple years ago, and while most of the family was supportive, our dad, 55M, a retired military vet, has had a harder time with it. He's not outright homophobic, at least not in the screaming, slur-using way. But he makes a lot of, "I don't agree with that lifestyle and I was raised differently" comments. You know the type. Jake's been patient, hoping that with time Dad would come around. But recently, Jake got serious with his boyfriend and brought him home for dinner. My dad was polite but cold, and afterward told me privately that while he's trying, he still doesn't approve. That annoyed me. I told him, "Jake's sexuality isn't a debate. He doesn't need your approval to be who he is, and frankly, he stopped asking for it a long time ago." My dad got really upset and said I was being disrespectful, especially considering everything he sacrificed for this country and for us. I told him I appreciate his service, but that doesn't give him the right to hold acceptance hostage over something that isn't wrong. He accused me of turning on him and said I was choosing sides. Now my mom is telling me to apologize because I could have handled it more delicately and that Dad is from a different generation, but I'm tired of people tiptoeing around his fragile comfort. So, Aita for calling him out? Commentez. 1. You are an amazing ally that every person needs. Your dad needs to figure this out or he will lose your brother in his life. You mom needs to chill. What you did was loving and right. Good for you. Edit. And I'm a boomer. Commentez. Absolutely NTA. Do not buy this different generation BS. I am around your dad's age. We are Gen X. While our parents, silent Gen and boomers, may be able to use that excuse, I outright reject it for your dad and other Gen Xers. We grew up with gay characters on TV and movies. It was in part our generation that lobbied for marriage equality. So no, he is not so old that his homophobia is excused. He is not trying. His behavior is disrespectful, and you should indeed choose a side. The side of loving your brother and accepting him for exactly who he is, unconditionally. Your dad's tolerance is just crap. I would recommend low or no contact with him for both you and your brother. Your mom seems to excuse all this too, making her no better. I am glad your brother has you. Commenter 3. NTA. I would say to both of them, you will destroy your relationships with your children if you don't do better than this. Commenter 4. NTA. Tell your mom that you and your brother are from a different generation too, one that doesn't put up with that kind of intolerance anymore. I doubt giving her the tolerance of intolerance just begets more intolerance speech will do much, but you can probably expect her to demand, or at least ask for tolerance from you and your brother that your dad won't reciprocate with in kind. I suppose it comes down to how diplomatic you want to be regarding this going forward. You could explain to your mom, he was being disrespectful first. He always has the option of keeping these opinions to himself and just accepting his son for who he is. Or tell your dad that you will never be sorry for sticking up for your brother and that he is going to have to get used to it. Or explain to him that he could keep up his behavior and then wonder why their younger son becomes really distant as he comes to the realization his dad probably hates him on some level and moves on from his relationship with him. The he is from a different generation is more for those really old people who have one foot in the grave. Asking an ancient mind to change is usually a big ask. But 55 is not that old and your mom is making a flimsy excuse for him. He has probably another 20-25 years before he even hits that point, and you might want to remind her of that and tell her he needs to get used to it before he pushes their son away. Or ask her if that is what he wants that, in which case to stop making excuses for him and own up to his behavior. But like I said, it's on you. I personally wouldn't stop calling him out. Just change tact and start questioning what's more important to him, constantly expressing his disapproval, or his relationship with his two sons. Stories number 21. Should I leave my boyfriend? After he gave me a meal with shrimp even though I'm allergic, and left me alone in the hospital? Hi everyone. I need some advice because I'm going through a situation that's overwhelming me. I'm 24 years old. I've been in a relationship for 3 years. I've lived with my boyfriend for a year, and for the past few weeks it's been a bit of a fight after a fight. Especially since I started a night job, a job I studied for 6 years, and he always knew I would do this job. He doesn't like it because we see each other less, and I sleep during the day while he's working. But that's not even the point. I'm allergic to seafood. The other night we were invited to a friend's house for a party where everyone had to bring a dish. My boyfriend brought back some spring rolls. I was with my family. I went straight to him. I asked him if he made them. He said yes. I tasted them, and I immediately tasted them, and I could tell there were shrimp in them. I asked him, and he replied, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you." Luckily, my friend who is allergic to peanuts had an epinephrine pen and gave it to me. But it wasn't enough. My throat started to swell. The ambulance came, and I ended up in the hospital on an IV drip. When I came to, my best friend and parents were there. I asked where my boyfriend was. There was an awkward silence, and they told me he went out for a drink with some friends. He said we'd call him when you left. It really pissed me off. My best friend even told me he seemed completely oblivious to the whole thing. When I got home, we had an argument about his behavior. In a fit of anger, I said, "Did you try to kill me or something?" And he replied, "Too bad it failed. At least you wouldn't be annoying me." I went to my room to cry, letting out my hatred from the evening. We haven't spoken for 2 days. The atmosphere is icy. Not even an apology. Nothing. I tell myself I'm going to leave him, that there's nothing left to save. But I have this doubt in the back of my mind. I talked to my mother, who told me that every relationship goes through problems. But now we're talking about a problem that sent me to the hospital, and I find it really strange. He never eats seafood, so why put it in the dish? Maybe I'm being paranoid? What do you think? Am I being dramatic, or is his behavior serious? Relevant comments, commenter. 1. So let me start by saying I'm sorry for what's happening to you, but I'm going to go on with, what the heck is this question? First of all, that it's an accident after 3 years together is serious. Without your friend, you might be dead. Then what he tells you after? But seriously, love yourself and dump him. Reply. Thank you for this response. In fact, with everything that has happened, in my head I tell myself that maybe it's me who is being dramatic, that I need to take a step back, etc. In short, I'm a little overwhelmed by the situation, but I'm going to leave him and that's it. Commenter 2. Nah, there's nothing to save here. And excuse me, but your mom's completely out of it too. It's impossible to downplay what he did and said, and her attitude when you're in the hospital. Commenter 3. The guy made the spring rolls himself, put in something you're allergic to on purpose, tells you, I quote, taste it. You wake up, he's not there. Did he want to kill you? If we were in the USA, you could have sued him for endangering you. You should even seriously consider it. This guy doesn't want what's best for you. Get away from this person ASAP. Who knows what he'll offer you next time? Ditch him. Commenter 4. So obviously it's really serious, and it seems like he's doing it on purpose. I just want to point out that adrenaline pens, EpiPens aren't enough. They're used to buy you time, but you still have to go to the hospital after using one. Anyway, ditch him, block him. Don't see him alone if you have to get your stuff back. Reply. Yeah. I found out when I finished up at the hospital, unfortunately. The doctor told me that if I'd combined the pills and the pen, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. Mini update. Thanks to everyone for your answers. I'm at work right now, but I took the time to read you. And you're confirming what I already knew deep down. Tomorrow, I'm going to get my stuff while he's at work, and I'm going to go live with my sister while I find an apartment. And yes, my mother isn't a great role model. She has a very old-fashioned mentality and downplays these kinds of situations a lot. Thanks again for your advice and messages. It gave me the courage to make a real decision, even if it stresses me out. But hey, I'll go with my brother to get my stuff just in case. You never know. Update. Should I dump my boyfriend after he gave me a shrimp dish even though I'm allergic and leave me alone at the hospital? A quick update from this morning. I finished work at 8 to 8 a.m. and a friend came with me to pick up my things. Normally, my boyfriend was supposed to be at work, but unfortunately, he was there. He told me he was sick and asked what I was doing. I calmly told him I was coming to pick up my things and that it was over, that our relationship had to end. He just looked at me and asked my friend to leave so we could talk about how it was his place, we didn't want him there. I refused, reminding him that the apartment is also in my name. There are 2 of us on the lease, so if I wanted, he had the right to stay. For an hour, I emptied my things while listening to him call me every name under the sun, my friend and I. He repeatedly told him to speak with his mouth, but hey, we were up against a wall. I grabbed everything and left. I'm going to get legal advice to clarify some things because, to answer those who asked, yes, he knew perfectly well that I was severely allergic to every restaurant. I spent time reading the ingredients, asking questions, etc. For those who ask if it was in his character, no, he was always gentle and caring, so it's very hard to understand what could have happened. But hey, human beings are complex, and I have to remind myself not to dwell on my situation. Yes, I say that to reassure myself. Thank you again to everyone for your messages and support. Top comment. Commenter 1. You did the right thing leaving, and also getting someone to go with you, and having a witness to the insults, plus your friend who saw him give you the shrimp spring rolls. Hang in there, block him everywhere, and don't feel bad about the apartment stuff and everything. The sooner you cut all ties, the better it is for you. Commenter 2. No, he's always been sweet and caring, so it's really hard to understand what could have happened. This part is even more freaky. I think a little investigation on him by the cops would be in order. The sweet personalities but capable of that are the worst. Stories number 22. My husband's mom is insanely stupid. As the title states, I think my husband's mom is insanely stupid. She just is. It's not even like she is dumb because she doesn't have an education, did not make it past middle school. It's just that she is a very dumb person. You know those people who are always so ignorant to anything and always want to be right so aggressively when they just aren't? That's her. And it's not just that. She is genuinely so clueless to everything. Just today she decided she wanted to dye her hair with Splat. Anyone that knows anything about hair dye knows that Splat is not the brand to use. She also decided to use the blue dye translation. No bueno. So she stained her face, her hands, the bottoms of her feet, somehow got it on her stomach. She stained the entire bathtub, the walls, the ceiling, the mirror, the sink, etc. Ruined the bathroom. I've never met someone more stupid in my entire life. ETA 1. OMG y'all, I live with her to take care of her. I have my own house. ETA 2. A commenter suggested I add this. For more clarification, this is a rant post that builds on a lot of my MIL's actions and behaviors. To the point, my MIL has her house, and I have mine. My husband and I work, and we take care of her. My husband works days and I work nights, so my husband sleeps at her house and is present in case of emergency while I work. When we switch, I am awake and deal with her never-ending tomfoolery. I adore the woman to pieces, but sometimes it's a lot. ETA 3. A commenter suggested I make a list as to why I believe what I said in the title. Here are some highlights. Tried to feed my husband and I soup with glass shards. Terrible driver. She merges past merge, so she drives on dirt. Often turns left on right turn lanes. Brakes abruptly, cuts off trucks, etc. Can't read because it hurts her eyes. She can read, but she'll hand me things and ask me to read what it says for her. She has glasses. Set my hair on fire accidentally with a match. Asked me if I have ever killed someone. Speaks over everyone and cannot understand why people think she is rude. Interrupts everyone and cannot understand why people think she is rude. Will squeeze between you, although there is space elsewhere to pass. Lit the yard on fire. Crashed my car into a post-I deck. How she found my keys. Threw a pot on the ground and asked me why it broke. Ripped bills as in dollars because she saw a Facebook post that said money is evil. Believes my hair will fall out because I dye it. Occasionally, like I will magically be bald. All of it will fall out all at once, etc. Comments. Commenter. 1. My mother-in-law told me she found a new way to save time. She was just going to wash one side of all the plates, but they were just stacked on top of each other dirty. I then realized why I get diarrhea after we eat at her place. Reply. That's genuinely disgusting. I am so sorry that happened to you. I cannot fathom why she believed that was a good idea at all. Commenter 2. I feel like the one example you used is a horrible one to try and prove that someone is insanely stupid. LOL, but yeah, I feel you. Reply. Probably I can see why you and a lot of people think so. This was more of a rant. A genuine example would be that she was cooking once and somehow managed to shatter the glass topper for the pot she was using and then proceeded to serve us the soup she made with glass shards while telling us to pick them out. There was no genuine malice in her actions, but she also could not understand why this was a genuine problem. Commenter 3. I get you. And the frustration. My ML was dumb as well. She liked to act like she was intelligent. Myself and my oldest are gifted, even have the paperwork to prove it, and it really bothered her. So she tried to act like she was super smart. Like, I don't think I'm better than people. My brain is just different. She used to try to correct me and would get mad when I'd explain that she was wrong. And why? One day she got so mad and said, "Well, I was raised to be pretty, not smart," and stomped away. It was true. Her grandmother basically told her all she had to offer was looks, and she'd best keep them, because there was nothing else she could offer. Harsh, right? She took it to heart, and never tried to do or be better. She was a vain, ugly, judgmental woman until the day she died. Reply. Sounds a lot like some of the people I work with. Wholeheartedly, I hope you never took her crap too seriously, because that is an unnecessary headache. Commenter 4. I feel you. My own mother is just dumb, pretty much in the same way you're describing. My guess would be that you either warned her about the splat, or she'd done it before and still insisted on using it. That's how it would go with my mother. Anyway, to provoke this reaction from me, LOL. Sometimes when my mom would speak when I was a child, which she does incessantly, my father would just stare into the distance with a blank look. I wasn't even an adult yet when I came to understand. Why? Reply. I dye my hair very often. Currently have blue in my hair. I told her I could dye her hair for her and she agreed. I guess she got impatient. Commenter 5. As a caregiver, and someone that has seen someone decline and do stupid stuff, I'm not judging you or your frustration. You mentioned that you and your husband trade off to take care of her. Have you had her assessed by a doctor? Have they run some cognitive tests? This might be a good idea to at least get a baseline with her doctor in case she keeps getting worse. It's a huge strain being a caregiver, and I am wishing you the best, but definitely start keeping a log to discuss with her. Doctors. Reply. Absolutely, we have done that. Frankly, she's always been like this. Annual checkups usually include my husband mentioning all these things, although she has no family history of Alzheimer's or dementia. She is negative for both and has been every time. It's been check every time being 4 times. Stories. Number 23. My husband may not be the biological father of his child, and I don't know if I should tell him. I never thought I'd be sitting here typing this out. But I'm at a complete loss and my brain won't stop spinning. For context, I'm 34 and my husband Daniel is 33. We've been married for a little over 6 years, and he has a 10-year-old daughter, Emma, from a relationship before me. I met Daniel when Emma was 3. Her mom, Heather, has always been difficult, to put it politely. She and Daniel split up shortly after Emma was born, and it wasn't a smooth breakup. Custody was a battle, and to this day there's still tension anytime Heather is around. But even with all of that, Daniel has always been the most devoted dad I've ever seen. He never once treated Emma like a burden or like she was from a different life. From the second I came into the picture, it was clear that Emma was his world. And honestly, I've grown to love her like she's my own. She calls me bonus mom, and sometimes just mom when she's being affectionate. She's sweet, funny, and so much like Daniel in personality that no one would ever question their bond. But here's where the problem comes in. A couple of weeks ago, we were sitting at the dinner table talking about school projects, and Emma brought up that her science class was learning about blood types. She proudly announced hers, and Daniel laughed and said, "Hey, that's mine too." Then he looked at me and asked what mine was. I told him, and then Emma asked what Heather's blood type was. Daniel shrugged and said he wasn't sure, but he thought it was A. The second I heard Emma's blood type, my stomach dropped. I work in healthcare, so I know just enough about genetics and blood type inheritance to realize something was off. I also know Daniel's blood type, and I know for an absolute fact that there is no biological way that Emma could be his child. None. I tried to brush it off in the moment, but my brain wouldn't let it go. After dinner, I sat in the bathroom staring at the sink, trying not to hyperventilate. It felt like I had stumbled onto a secret I wasn't supposed to know, one that could blow up our entire lives. At first, I told myself not to say anything. Why should I? Daniel adores Emma. He has raised her, loved her, fought for her, and been her safe place since day one. Biologically, genetically, or otherwise, she's his daughter. Period. I couldn't stomach the idea of dropping this kind of bombshell and possibly shattering everything. But then another part of me started whispering, doesn't he have a right to know? Isn't it unfair that Heather might have known all along and kept it from him? That Emma might grow up not knowing her full medical history? I keep going back and forth day after day, spiraling about whether my silence is protecting him or betraying him. Heather is the wild card in all this. She's the kind of person who thrives on drama. If Daniel confronted her, she'd probably double down, scream, and make everything messy. But deep down, I think she knows. I've replayed moments in my head. Little comments she's made over the years. The way she sometimes needles Daniel about being such a good dad despite everything. At the time, I thought she was just being petty. Now, I'm not so sure. The thing is, Daniel has always been proud of the fact that he stepped up when Heather was struggling. He never questioned Emma's paternity. Never once. If I tell him now, I don't know how he'd react. Would he be devastated? Would he feel like the last decade of his life was a lie? Or would he shrug and say it doesn't matter because Emma is his daughter no matter what? And what about Emma? She's 10. She idolizes her dad. If this ever came out, what would it do to her? Would it make her question everything about herself? Would it break her heart? I feel like I'd be ripping the ground out from under both of them if I opened my mouth. I keep thinking back to this one night years ago when Emma was maybe 5. She had a nightmare and crawled into bed with us, clinging to Daniel. He held her all night, whispering that she was safe. In that moment, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that he was her father in every way that mattered. That memory has been haunting me because it makes me realize just how high the stakes are here. So now I'm stuck in this limbo, carrying around this heavy secret, and I don't know what the right thing to do is. Some days I convince myself that silence is kindness, that it's better to let things be and not destroy what's already built. Other days, I feel like I'm complicit in a lie that could come crashing down later in an even worse way. I haven't told anyone in real life. Not my mom, not my friends, No one. The only people who could possibly know are me and Heather, and maybe deep down Daniel if he's ever had doubts. He's never spoken aloud. Writing it here is the first time I've actually said it out loud, even in text. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should confront Heather, if I should tell Daniel, or if I should bury this information and carry it to my grave for the sake of peace. All I know is that every time I look at Emma, my heart aches because she's such a good kid, and she doesn't deserve to be caught in the middle of something like this. That's where I'm at. Reddit. Do I protect the bond between a father and daughter by staying quiet? Or do I risk everything by telling him the truth he never asked for? It took me weeks to work up the courage to do anything after writing that first post. I kept going back and rereading the comments, weighing every point. Some people said to never, ever tell. Others insisted that keeping it a secret was basically betrayal. Honestly, both sides made sense, and I felt sick every time I tried to imagine either path. But what ultimately pushed me over the edge was Daniel himself. One night, we were sitting on the couch after Emma went to bed, and he brought up how much he wanted to be completely honest with each other about everything, no matter how hard. It wasn't about anything big. He was actually just talking about some work thing, but those words hit me like a freight train. I realized I was holding something from him that was bigger than anything else in our marriage, and it was eating me alive. So a few nights later, I told him. It was the hardest conversation of my life. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I started by saying that I needed to tell him something I had learned by accident, and that I wasn't sure what the right thing to do was. Then I explained the blood type situation, as gently as I could. At first he looked confused. Then his face just shifted. He got really quiet, and I could see the gears turning in his head. He asked me to repeat the blood types again, and I did. He sat back, stared at the wall, and said, "So you're saying there's no way?" I told him that genetically, no, it wasn't possible. That silence was brutal. He didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't even look at me for a good 5 minutes. Just sat there, staring at nothing, like his whole world had tilted. I tried to tell him that Emma is still his daughter in every way that matters, but he just shook his head and said, "I don't even know what to think right now." That night, he barely slept. He kept pacing the house. Around 4 a.m., he finally said, "I have to know for sure. I can't live with maybe." He wanted a paternity test. I begged him to think about it, to consider the impact, especially on Emma. But he was set. He said that if Heather had lied to him all these years, he deserved to know, and Emma deserved the truth about where she came from. Fast forward a week, and he confronted Heather. I wasn't there, but he came home shaking with rage. He said she laughed when he brought it up, then got defensive, then accused me of planting the idea in his head to drive a wedge between them. Eventually, she admitted she wasn't 100% sure back when Emma was born, but claimed she didn't think it mattered because Daniel was the better father. Anyway, that broke him. He immediately filed for the test. Waiting for the results was excruciating. He barely ate, barely talked, just kind of drifted through the days. I tried to be supportive, but I felt like I had ripped the floor out from under my own marriage. And then the results came. Emma is not biologically his. I'll never forget the look on his face. When he opened that envelope, it was like watching someone's soul shatter. He went into the bedroom, closed the door, and didn't come out for hours. Here's the thing, though. The next morning, when Emma came running into the kitchen asking for pancakes, he smiled at her like he always does. He made her breakfast, braided her hair for school, kissed her on the forehead, and told her he loved her. I could see the pain in his eyes, but I could also see that he wasn't going to let this destroy his relationship with her. Since then, things have been complicated. He's furious with Heather. They've had multiple screaming matches, and he's already talking to a lawyer about what this means for custody and legal rights. He says he won't let her use this to strip him of being Emma's dad, because he is her dad, and nothing can change that. But between him and me, it's been rough. Some days he thanks me for telling him, saying at least now he knows the truth. Other days, he looks at me like I'm the messenger who ruined his peace. He hasn't outright blamed me, but I can feel it hanging in the air. As for me, I feel conflicted. I know I did what I thought was right, but watching the fallout has been brutal. I keep wondering if I should have stayed silent. Emma doesn't know anything yet. Daniel refuses to tell her until he figures out the best way, if at all. She's just a kid and she adores him. I can't imagine what this will do to her someday. So yeah, Reddit. That's where things stand. The truth is out. The damage is done. And now we're just trying to navigate the pieces. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. Daniel may not be Emma's biological father, but in every way that matters, he's still her dad, and I pray that never changes. It's been over a year since my last post, and I figured I owed you all the closure since so many of you helped me work through the decision in the first place. The short version is, life didn't fall apart the way I thought it would, but it also didn't snap back to normal overnight. It's been a long, messy road, but we're in a place now that feels steady. After the paternity test confirmed what we already suspected, Daniel and Heather went through a really ugly legal battle. Heather tried to weaponize the biology card, saying that since Daniel wasn't the real father, he shouldn't have any say. That backfired spectacularly in court, because he had 10 years of documented parenting, financial support, school involvement, medical decisions, basically everything that proved he was, legally and practically, her father. The judge shut Heather down hard. Daniel retained full legal parental rights, and Heather was warned that trying to alienate Emma from him could cost her more in the future. That was a relief. But it didn't make things easier emotionally. Daniel spiraled for a while. He went to therapy, thank God, and that helped him process the betrayal. He told me that one of the hardest parts wasn't even Heather's lie. It was the fact that he felt like his entire reality had been rewritten. For 10 years, he thought he shared blood with Emma, and suddenly that connection was gone. He said he had to reframe it in his mind. Not, I lost something, but I've always been her dad, and nothing changes that. Therapy helped him shift to that mindset, and I saw a huge difference in how he carried himself after. As for me, I won't lie, things between us were strained for months. He admitted more than once that part of him wished I'd kept my mouth shut. I carried a lot of guilt for being the one who pulled the pin on the grenade, even though the grenade was always there. But slowly, we worked through it. Therapy helped us too. We learned how to talk about it without blowing up at each other. Now he thanks me for being honest, even though it hurt. He says the not knowing would have been worse in the long run. Emma is still blissfully unaware of the biological stuff. Daniel decided not to tell her, at least not now. She's thriving, doing great in school, joined soccer, obsessed with painting. She still runs to Daniel first thing when she's scared, excited, or proud of something. He's dad, full stop. There's no reason to shake her world with adult drama she can't process yet. Heather, on the other hand, our relationship with her is basically non-existent outside of necessary communication. She burned that bridge. Daniel is polite for Emma's sake, but there's no trust left. She still throws little digs sometimes, but Daniel doesn't engage anymore. He says she can stew in her choices, he's focused on Emma. So here we are, a year later. The storm came, wrecked a lot, but we rebuilt. I don't regret telling him anymore. It was brutal, yes, but it forced everything into the open, and now we live without that invisible weight hanging over us. Daniel is stronger for it, our marriage survived it, and Emma still has a dad who loves her more than anything. If there's one thing I've learned through this, it's that blood isn't the glue that holds a family together. It's love, consistency, and showing up every single day. And Daniel has done that every day of Emma's life. That's what makes him her father.